And the biggest thing I'm looking for coming into this game, what is Milwaukee going to do to free up Giannis with Kawhi Leonard having caused him big problems in game 3?
Yeah, I mean, we saw Giannis only make 5 shots from the field in game 3, and at least 4 of those 5 were not at Kawhi's expense. They
Yeah.
were in transition and on changed assignments or when Kawhi wasn't in the game. And also along those lines, Kawhi's movement. We saw that right leg bothering him in game 3. He
Left leg.
persevered. Left leg. He persevered through it and had a wonderful game, including some huge plays in overtime. Sometimes you see those get more troublesome longer after the fact. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well.
Yeah, and then when it's not Kawhi on there, we saw Toronto go to the hard double team.
Yes.
And that's something that Giannis and Milwaukee are going to have to deal with as well. But presumably with their shooters, they should be equipped there. So no changes to the starting lineup for Mike Budenholzer. They're going to stick with Nikola Mirotic, Brogdon, Hill. Those were actually probably their 2 most effective players coming off the bench.
One also, what Marc Gasol do we see? Because the Marc Gasol in Game 3 was a huge positive for them, especially in the first half. But the Marc Gasol that we saw in the first 2 games would be a big swing.
I'd like to congratulate the refs on doing a reasonable toss there.
Yay!
Trying to get Kawhi at the elbow. Gasol, they swing it. Now the screen for Kawhi underneath. Gasol, I thought, had him for a second. No advantage gained on that action. Here's Lowry, and he throws it between the wickets of Pascal Siakam. Not a good start for Toronto. I thought they had the opening for Kawhi going backdoor if they lobbed it up there, but did not take advantage. Giannis noting a little sweat on the ball, but now we're ready to go. And we'll see what Milwaukee is starting off with. They swing it, trying to get Bledsoe involved here. Lopez at the elbow. Both those passes are denied. Now it's a high screen roll. Here's Middleton pulling up. Not there. Chris Middleton, the greatest three-point shooter in NBA playoff history, minimum 1,000 minutes. He's at 44% for his playoff career. Now Siakam dribbles into trouble and gets stripped. Giannis in transition at Gasol. Oh, what a Euro step. Just completely wrong-footed Gasol. And that's where Milwaukee's been most effective in the series.
Yeah, I mean, they got a lot of threes early in Game 3, and Giannis, I mean, a bunch of his few made baskets were in transition. He's phenomenal there.
Yeah, keep your eye as Gasol pulls his three-pointer. That's not there. Keep your eye on Chris Middleton top-siding Kawhi Leonard, just not letting him get the ball at his sweet spots. Mirotic, deep 3 over Siakam. Yes! Nikola Mirotic struggling, only 31% from deep in the playoffs, has not shot well in this series. He takes some pretty difficult attempts. If he can make those, that should help crack open this Raptors defense. Here's Danny Green on the drive. Into Mirotic. Pump fake. Scores. And that's one that they will probably live with, I think, if you're Milwaukee.
Yeah, Danny Green dribble drives are more frequent now, but still not a strength. Ooh,
Giannis,
airballed 3.
Giannis still not feeling it from 3 at all. That was part of his struggles. Lopez closed down way beyond the arc. Now Gasol trying to deny Giannis. Giannis right into the lane. He went right past Leonard for the jam.
And so that's 2 makes around the basket with Kawhi Leonard not in the vicinity already for you.
Yeah, in scramble situations, they get it into Gasol. Mirotic with the help, and he fouls his Spanish national team teammate.
When he is the chosen naturalized citizen.
Yes. Toronto yet to get a great look in the half court. Siakam handing off to Lowry. He's got space on Bledsoe. Back to Gasol. Back to Lowry. He'll take the 3 as he got past Bledsoe. And Eric Bledsoe lost concentration just for a moment, and Lowry eluded him.
And Lowry got most of his points in a second quarter binge last game, so we'll see if he can be a little bit more consistent throughout.
Yeah, Lowry was actually plus 15 as he just leaves Lopez. He and Gasol looking at each other, wondering what they were supposed to be doing here. Lowry tried to get back to his man, Middleton, and could not. Here's Gasol, his quick jumper. Again, that's not where Gasol is effective. He shoots more of a set shot. That quick jumper doesn't really work too well for him. Here's Giannis again in transition. 6 quick points already, and Nick Nurse wants to talk it over. They've given up 3 layups at the rim, and all 3 of them, Danny, Kawhi Leonard has not been on Giannis. It's been in a scramble situation, and Toronto's transition defense, a bugaboo in this series. They only score 80 points per 100 possessions in the half court against Toronto's defense, but yet transition has killed them, and it's doing it again tonight.
Yeah, effectiveness and frequency are both really important for the Bucks in transition in these games. The proportion of shots they take in the half court is another way of putting that. Great time to get in your questions, and one of them we got was, could you guys just not stomach the inevitable demise of the Blazers yesterday? I wouldn't say it was necessarily that. It was, a lot of days in a row. And we kind of knew, even if it hadn't been in a game 4, we kind of knew where that series was going. And
no, I just wasn't that interested in a game 4 when one team's up 3-0.
And I also had familial obligations, so it all kind of tied together. And we recorded on that game. That will be a part of the podcast that gets released tonight. We already recorded on that game. And an off-season preview of the Portland Trailblazers. So that plus this game will be tonight's show.
Yeah, I had fun actually watching the game with my wife, which we rarely get a chance to do.
And while we're waiting for questions to come in, patreon.com/JunkoMaru, great way to support this endeavor. We are not ad-supported, as you can tell. We don't do commercials. And subscriber-only podcast, we do a mailbag every month. We are going to be doing it pretty soon, now that we're going to actually have a little bit of time without games, however long that is. So we'll probably do it in the very near term. Ask questions asked for and answered exclusively for subscribers. And early release podcasts, salary cap sheets, all that kind of fun stuff.
People asking for the YouTube cast link, just subscribe to that channel that has it, the Nate Duncan NBA channel.
It has changed since the very beginning, but it has been the same for almost the whole playoff run now. Has Nick Nurse been a larger positive this season than Dwayne Casey would have been?
I believe so.
I think so.
What is he? I'm not sure what he's done that you would look at as being bad. Maybe the one thing you could say is that Casey, for whatever reason, was able to get more out of the bench with this team than Nurse.
Yeah, I think that was also because they had better bench players. I think that was a part of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, Siakam was not really a part of that unit this year. He moved into the starting lineup, and Van Vliet just hasn't played well.
Right, and
they're missing Anunoby.
But an important thing that we'll see if it affects his free agency decision, but the management of Kawhi Leonard is something I think Nick Nurse did much better in the regular season than I would have expected from Dwayne Casey. And it's hard, changing the lineups around all the time due to somebody who might not be feeling right physically is a real challenge. And I mean, they changed a lot, getting Marc Gasol in season. So I think Nurse has done a great job. He's not a perfect playoff coach or anything like that yet, but Dwayne Casey sure as hell wasn't either.
All right, we're back here. Toronto struggling early. Milwaukee already 12 points in a mere 3 minutes. And let's see if Toronto can get out of this rut. They do not want to go down against this team. They just don't have the offensive firepower. Middleton, they've done a great job of trying to blow up those DHOs all year. Because Gasol is open, doesn't want to take the three. Lowry, creating space. Not a good shot, but he makes it against George Hill, who has come on for Bledsoe. Is Bledsoe in foul trouble already?
No, he's not.
It's interesting that he's in already. Here's Lopez. Gasol with the great hands again. Gasol was credited with 5 block shots in Game 3. Many of those, though, strips down low.
Yeah, it's the drawing that line.
Here's Lowry. Guys to go into Lopez, and Lopez, not a good foul. And is that his second? He was looking at the bench okay, because he was looking at the bench I know. I think Bud was saying, hey, just you got to keep your forearm off of Lowry. And again, we're seeing now in these playoffs, I think the referees are not doing as good of a job of enforcing the rule that they implemented after the 2017 playoffs of it being a non-shooting foul when there's that forearm contact and then the guy decides to shoot. Clearly, Lowry felt that contact and then decided to go up. Well, I wouldn't say clearly. I just need to see the replay. But
we remember the Lou Williams, James Harden series. Why don't they?
Yeah. Toronto stabilizing here with 5 quick points. Lowry has been fantastic so far. He's got 8 of the 10 Toronto points. Giannis off the screen. They get the switch of Danny Green. Let's see if he can do something in the half court. They're late clock here, though. Green bothering the dribble. Double team comes. Good left-handed pass by Giannis into the corner. And Gasol just helped a little bit too much that time. I think they should have trusted Siakam with the help there instead. Gasol feeling it from outside. Yes.
Big
Another.
shot.
Yep, they really need that. And good to see Toronto back into it here. The three-point shooting of Toronto, I've now made 3. And then again, it was Danny Green guarding Giannis. I didn't get to see how it was that it looks like they're actually not putting Kawhi on Giannis. I mean, that wasn't a transition situation. Now Kawhi is on Giannis, so maybe they just messed up the matchups.
It doesn't seem like they're diligent enough at getting their guys in semi-transition.
No, I mean, that was off a make.
Yeah.
Oh, here's Green with the deflection. He's got Lowry ahead of the field, and Lowry will put in his 10th point of the game, tying it for Toronto.
Yeah, Lowry has 10. Gasol, that 3-pointer, and Danny Green has 2.
Ilyasova has come on. He struggled with 4 fouls in 13 minutes in Game 3. Good pressure from Green on Mirotic to take away the passing angle. Mirotic putting it on the deck, goes to the tough pull-up 2 and scores. That's, again, you got to be happy with that shot. If you're Toronto, the pressure from Green took him totally out of what they wanted to run offensively. Now Lowry against Mirotic off the switch. Watch Ilyasova looking to come over and help. Lowry goes to the fade over Mirotic, and Mirotic gets one at the elbow and gives up one at the elbow.
Yeah, and Lowry absolutely on fire here in the early going, and we wondered how Toronto was going to get their offense going. It's been Kyle Lowry.
Nice move by Gasol getting out to Middleton, but he steps in for the 2. And let's see there. Is that too much of a help from Toronto? You've got Kawhi on him. You got 2 guys coming over to get Giannis. I think 1 would probably suffice there. Make him prove that he can score on Kawhi. Here's Kawhi getting Gasol on the roll. And again, Gasol not a threat to finish at the rim on that roll. That leaves Lowry wide open for the 3. He finally misses one. Let's see if they can match up here. No, of course they can't. Here's Giannis going right at Green, and they're going to give up another bucket. Once again, Danny Green hanging around in the backcourt. Now he's got to guard Giannis in transition, and they give up. I mean, Giannis has 8 points, and it's all on scramble situations. The Toronto just not good enough defensively right now. Here's the jumper from Leonard. His first shot finally goes down. And Bud going back to Lopez and Bledsoe. It seems like now he's almost shuttling these guys in and out every 3 minutes or so, which is interesting.
Hockey shift.
Yeah, here's a drive by Middleton. And Kawhi, I thought that should have been a jump ball. I think maybe Giannis let go of it. Great defense by him. Now Giannis with 6 on the clock. He's going to try and go at Gasol. He's going to pull up from the mid-range. That's off. Ilyasova dominating Siakam down low for the offensive board. And once again, the Siakam bad technique there. I say once again, we haven't talked about it this game, but I hate when guys just face guard the guy and put your hands on him. You're not doing as good of a job of keeping him off the glass, and you're also not in any kind of rebounding position yourself. You got to turn, put your butt into his knees, and knock him backwards.
And even if you're a smaller guy, you can still create leverage with that position where you can't when you're facing him.
So he can't jump. Yeah, so Ilyasova, long rumored to be older than he actually is listed at 32.
Well, and
But
also something to
he's
watch.
maintained his value.
Yeah,
so far,
something to watch here. That was Pascal Siakam's first foul. He has been incredibly aggressive and handsy in this series. Inconsistently called for fouls. Remember that he fouled out of Game 2, but did not foul out of Game 3. But, I mean, if they just start calling some of the grabbing he does, then it could be big trouble for Siakam's minutes.
Ilyasova missing the second free throw. Missed free throw is a major problem for the Bucks in Game 3. Siakam now has Ilyasova one-on-one. He's got Gasol up top. Lopez looking to help off of him. Backing down as Siakam. Help comes. That leaves Gasol wide open for the 3, and he drains another one. Once again, that's maybe a little bit too much help for Milwaukee. You've got more than one guy going to help you. You have guys on the weak side, and you have Lopez coming from up top, but that's their scheme. They're willing to give that up to Gasol. Switch off the ball onto Ilyasova in the post now. Lopez. This is late clock for Milwaukee again. Bledsoe spin move. Lowry stays with him. Bledsoe with the finish.
Nice body control there by Bledsoe to keep a little bit of space for the shot to go up.
Yeah, and the gravity of Lopez drew Gasol away from the rim. There's a looping pass that Siakam gets. He faces up on Brogdon. Not much movement here for Toronto. They've got Gasol in the weak side corner. Here's Ibaka down the lane, stripped by Ilyasova, but a foul is called.
Well, and something that I'm going to be interested in if we see Brogdon on Siakam a little bit more frequently, we've talked about putting a big on Siakam and forcing him to shoot the jump shot. Another way to do it is put a small on him and just see if he can power through, because he's more of a finesse guy to me than a power guy in terms of what his skill set is in the half court.
Some crazy offense so far in this game. Only 14 possessions so far. And both teams over a 150 offensive rating. That's been powered by 3 of 5 3-point shooting from Milwaukee, 4 of 6 for the Raptors.
Yeah, paying tribute to last night's game, which had a completely ridiculous scoring first quarter.
Ibaka, a couple of free throws to tie it. Leonard getting a break here pretty early on. Maybe that's with Giannis out of the game is the thought. Bledsoe looks like he got fouled. Nick Nurse gives his incredulous face that he's so good at. Norm Powell saying, hey, you just lost it. Looks like a heating pad on Leonard's left quad or knee to try and keep it loose. Bledsoe goes at Gasol in space, backs him out now. He's going to try and go one-on-one as Lopez is looking to post up. Instead, they look to get it into the post. Lopez double comes. Bledsoe looks to drive. There's help. Ilyasova, his three-pointer is off. Gasol looking to outlet. He'll just bring it up. Too big alignment right now for Toronto, and they've got Siakam at the 3, so they're real big right now. Backing down, double team comes. Gasol is going to be left wide open once more and can't get that one. Offensive rebound, Siakam. Oh, and then he had Lowry on the weak side, could not execute the pass, intercepted by Ilyasova. Here's a nice drive by Bledsoe into Ibaka. Good verticality from him. Push comes from Lowry. He's got nothing there. Good transition defense for the Bucks, but then he gets it in to Ibaka with the hook, but it's short. Ibaka usually pretty good on those short-range flips, but not that time. Lopez, he'll load up over Gasol and drain it. The three-point shooting continues to be fantastic for the Bucks.
Yeah, I believe both centers now have 2 made three-pointers in the first 9 minutes of this game.
Somewhat of a frantic pace, that now they'll slow it down. Gasol at the elbow, handing off to Powell, who's played well in this series. That leaves Ibaka open for the right wing, not there. Other than that, Game 7 against Philly, Ibaka really struggling from 3.
And may have just elbowed Gasol in the face.
Lowry driving baseline, and he's going to be hacked by Brogdon.
I don't think, from what I can tell, I think that's Milwaukee's 4th foul. But I mean, if that ends up being free throws, it makes it even worse. Lowry was doing one of those drives where you're basically driving. I think they're great to do against the Bucks. You're driving, trying to get somebody else to overreact. That's really the Steve Nash type of drives, and they can work incredibly well, just depending on the defensive scheme you're going up against. Would you say the Gasol trade was a mistake for Toronto? For me, absolutely not. I mean, they got off of some bad money in the CJ Miles.
Oh yeah, that's one of the and Valanciunas. I mean, that's the thing that's understated there. I mean, like the contracts they gave up. You know, I mean, no pick, just Wright, who's really probably a backup point guard.
And sure, match rights on Wright could be useful, but there's also a chance those type of guys are actually sometimes more likely to get overpaid in restricted free agency than like good players, because good players, their market is pretty well calibrated.
What do you see Looney getting in free agency? Ethan Strauss, I was one of the people he asked about it for his piece. I think it's in the 3 to 5 million range, just because he's not big enough to start at center and he doesn't shoot the 3. He's really more valuable as a playoff player and to the Warriors than to a lot of other teams.
Yeah, and the Warriors have full bird rights on him, and everybody else, if you're above the minimum, you're dipping into cap space or an exception.
Last series Toronto need to run. Do you agree that this series they need to play slow? I know that Bob Voulgaris has espoused that position. It's just a question of, does running yourself mean that the other team now it's easier for them to run? To some degree, because you're going to have more turnovers in transition. If you miss a layup, you're going to be out of balance. But I think overall, their scoring is so difficult for them that that's where you can add the most value. So I would be trying to run. Um, how big was this OG Anunoby injury?
I think it was significant. I mean, he could give them another defensive option. Granted, Giannis is a tough cover for everybody, but another guy, I would say, another benefit there for Middleton. That's because he's very strong, and that could have worked. But Toronto has gotten better play from Norm Powell than I expected, so I think that's blunted some of the impact there. So it hurts, but I don't think it hurts as much as I expected to. I'm a big OG believer for sure.
A lot of questions about Myers Leonard in the wake of his performance. No, he's still a bad contract.
Yeah, and has his trade value ever been higher? Yes, before he was on this contract. On this contract, it has probably not been higher. But it's still negative because that contract sucks. Is there any player in the league that would be a better sidekick for Giannis than Paul George? I mean there are a lot of guys who are
Steph Curry. Or Clay I would say.
And Giannis is such a good defender that you don't necessarily need. I think you'd want a guy who's a little bit more creative with the ball in his hands. Like a guy like Steph or an elite point. Damian Lillard would be phenomenal with Giannis.
All right, we're back here. Kawhi inbounding. He's guarded by Brogdon. Powell going at Middleton. Siakam not a shooting threat. Van Vliet fancies himself one. And yes, finally Van Vliet has really struggled. He had the one key three late in the fourth quarter of game 3, but has not had the touch from outside really in these whole playoffs. Giannis and Kawhi matched up against one another. They're going to try and screen him with Bledsoe. Giannis with a looping pass. No advantage gain. The pass was off. Middleton on the drive against Siakam. Good help off of Bledsoe. Bledsoe's three. Not there. And Toronto is going to help off of Eric Bledsoe all day until he starts hitting some threes. Kawhi going to his left against Brogdon. Pulls up over Lopez. Great contest again by Lopez, but that leaves the boards open for Ibaka. Ibaka out to Powell into the lane. Powell right down and he's blocked.
And I love Powell driving there without any hesitation because that gave him like a half step. The problem is a half step on Giannis is nothing.
Yeah, well, and you go in between Giannis and Lopez. I mean, that is just so hard to deal with. But that's fine. Like we were saying, if they drive and they get blocked every once and again,
especially if they retain the possession. So Van Vliet for the playoffs, 8 of 41 from 3. That's 20%.
That's bad.
Real bad.
Kawhi off the screen. He's got size advantage on Brogdon. Shoots over him. Way short. Had 6 on the 24. Maybe could have worked into better position. Now they're matched up wrong again. Giannis into the lane. Another foul. I mean, this is just... They have to do a better job there. I mean, Danny Green, in particular, has really been in the wrong place so many times. Leonard is there, and Danny Green isn't on his guy, Brogdon. And so now Leonard has to take Brogdon, and they give up another fast break.
Yes, Giannis is at 8 points now. These will be his first free throws of this game. And I believe all 8 of his points were not with Kawhi Leonard being his primary defender.
Yeah, and Ben, if you get a chance, if you want to just show some of these transition defenses, is that another airball free throw?
Giannis is helped by the angle they showed that. I think that was way worse than it looked from the overhead view.
I mean, this is a problem if he's this far into his own head now on these jumpers and free throws. This is a major problem going forward. I mean, maybe not in this series, but in the next series in particular. Does hit the second free throw. Powell finding Green. Back to Powell. Now the step-up screen from Ibaka. And they're going to get a hold on Middleton. One of the things that I think... I mean, that is That
Oh
is
yeah,
so short.
that's awful.
Nothing but net. One of the things that I think he gets credit in some circles for the development of Giannis. Giannis, when he first came into the league, he wasn't like this non-shooter. Like, he shot 34% from three. He had sort of more of a set shot, push shot off of his shoulder. But, when I saw him in 2013 before the draft over in Europe, he didn't look like he was going to be like this non-shooter. And then first kid was like, when he came in after his rookie year, he's like, right, you're not shooting threes anymore. And then they've tried to perform surgery a number of times on his jumper, and he's able to get it off a little bit better. He has a higher release, but he's a much worse shooter now than he was like 5 years ago. It's crazy. They try to the cross screen, and they have to give up the switch. Double team comes from Ibaka. Connaughton got right past Kawhi, but he just dropped the ball.
He was the receiver looking at the defensive back instead of catching it.
Kawhi can't hit that three off the dribble. That was a pretty good look. Milwaukee semi-transition. This time the Raps actually get matched up. They'll switch this with Ibaka onto Middleton. Middleton trying to get Ibaka in the air. Great job not fouling. And I think now they're going to get a hold. Oh, no, defensive 3 seconds on Kawhi.
And so far, the possession game, pretty close to even. 3 offensive rebounds for the Bucks, 2 for the Raps, and three turnovers for each team.
Yeah, and Kawhi there, if he just had taken a step towards Middleton, or I'm sorry, towards Mirotic when he drove and touched him, he could have avoided the defensive 3 seconds there.
Also, Toronto, 7 assists on 9 made baskets. Milwaukee, 8 on 11.
Kawhi almost got the steal, but they give up the Euro step to Giannis. And yet another just bad breakdown by Toronto. If they, like, every time they've stayed solid with their matchups, Milwaukee has scored poorly, but they've just had too many breakdowns. Here's Powell, his three-pointer goes down. Norman Powell, man, what a revelation he's been in this series after falling completely out of the rotation at times last series. They get the switch. Green on Giannis. 2 for 1 time for Milwaukee. Brogdon into the lane. Stopped by Kawhi that time. Kawhi looking to push it. He can get his own 2 for 1. Looking to create space. Beautiful. No look into the corner. Danny Green misses the corner 3. Kawhi rebounding. He's got 12 on the clock. Going at Connaughton. Back to goal. Double team comes. Kawhi maintaining patience. And he's going to get bumped. I think they'll call this.
And that's free throws either way.
Yeah, doesn't matter whether it's on the floor or not. Thanks.
And that's Brogdon's. I think that's his second. And my screen is still loading. And that offensive rebound by Kawhi, the Bucks probably wouldn't have gotten a 2 for 1. It would have been really, really tight. But I mean, now it's going to be 1-1 each way. And Kawhi gets 2 free throws, makes the first.
Are you encouraged by this start for Toronto? Do you think
yes.
Does this augur that they can do better? It's not just the 6 of 12 3-point shooting.
I mean, the 6 of 12 certainly helps, but I think they're getting better looks offensively than they did overall in the series. And the mistakes they're making defensively, they damn well better be correctable. I mean, these are not like functional problems. They're just not guys not getting their man in transition.
Milwaukee can run the time down for the last shot of the quarter. Good denial by Van Vliet on Connaughton. Now they finally get it to him. Van Vliet took him totally out of what they wanted to run. Now Giannis is going to go one-on-one. He's got Mirotic there. Deep 3 from the hash mark for Mirotic is off. And Toronto with the nice first quarter, 32-31. And another thing that I think they can take some solace in here is the offensive rebounds are about the same.
Yep.
The turnovers are about the same. They're not losing the possession battle. I mean, this is a great quarter for both of them, but their half-court defense has held up. I'll give you those stats in a second here for what it was in the half court.
Leading scorer in the game, Kyle Lowry. He had 10 points early, ended up with 12 points in 9 minutes, 4 of 5 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, got to the line for those 2 free throws. And for the Bucks, Giannis, 11 points, 5 of 8 from the field, missed that 3 and split his free throws with the air ball.
Yeah, and Milwaukee running on 43% of their live rebounds. And their half-court offense actually has been effective in part due to offensive rebounding a ton in the half court, but they're still a 117 offensive rating. So maybe I'm giving a little bit too much credit to Toronto's half court defense right now.
Is the 2-for-1 an overvalued strategy? I do not think that it is. The argument can be in certain circumstances. If you're taking a significantly worse shot to create a 2-for-1, maybe you're sacrificing. But even then, I would believe that the math generally works in favor of it, because a lot of times assuming that a half court offense is going to create like this, 1.5 points per possession shot. No, it's probably not. So getting two opportunities, even if they're lower valued, is often better than one.
And a lot of times teams will almost mentally just trick themselves into thinking that they have a fast break and will get a better shot in a 2-for-1 situation than you might normally, just for the feeling of like, all right, we got to go quick now. And that urgency catches the defense off guard.
Oh, that's a good question from RobBot13. Prefer to sub here, meaning on Twitch Prime or on Patreon. Patreon is our preferred place. Also, that get the benefits that get you in terms of subscriber-only podcasts and everything else. But for people who have Amazon Prime and are not subscribing to anything else on Twitch, all you do is you connect your Twitch account with your Amazon account. And then from there, if you have Amazon Prime, then you get what's called a free subscription for. They have different durations of time, and if you want to use that on us, we appreciate it. But if you're asking us which we prefer, should it be a binary choice? Patreon. Would you rather have Jaren Jackson or Tatum moving forward? It's an interesting question. I would go Tatum, even though I love Jaren, because I think there's a lot of growth potential for him. I talked about this a little bit middle of the season, that I understand Tatum's game better now than I did his first year when he was doing that crazy, unsustainable three-point shooting. And my hope/belief is that he can iron some of that out. And while I think he's overrated defensively, he's still very good defensively and can be a positive in a team system. And so if he's, can be a key supporting player, even if it's just that on both sides of the floor, I think that's really important. And Jaren, his ceiling is crazy high. I mean, that's part of the reason I loved him in the draft. He could be a huge defensive force. And then offensively, kind of like Miles Turner, I think his game, even if he's a lower usage guy, he fits in with the lower usage floor spacing centers of the modern NBA. And we're back. So I will try to hold on.
We're good.
We're good.
I'm here.
Is your mic on?
Yes, it is. Oh, wait, I just turned it off again. All right. Now it's on.
Nice tip by Kawhi.
Yeah, Kawhi just fantastic as an off-ball defender these last couple games. Here's Powell going at Connaughton. Throws it, almost to nobody. Van Vliet recovers. They still have time here. He's got Ibaka rolling down the lane. Instead, it's Powell. Oh, Connaughton. He did not see the scouting report on Pat Connaughton, who will jump as hard as he can at any potential three-pointer. I'm shocked that they haven't been able to draw more three-shot fouls on Connaughton. I would expect if he plays against the Warriors that they will try to exploit that. Van Vliet with 7 on the clock. He's going to go one-on-one on Hill. Baseline into 2 guys. Powell, swing. Danny Green, relocate. Oh, man, I thought it was in. Here's Ibaka going to the hook shot. He had the pass out to Van Vliet, but instead he rims it in. Here's Middleton. Oh, Kawhi almost had another steal. Giannis into the lane at Van Vliet. No foul call. I thought that was a good no call. Van Vliet was there. Green, pump faking Giannis into the air. Green right down the lane, and that's got to be a goaltend. Yeah. And for once in their lives with Milwaukee, nobody steps up. And this is very interesting here because they're going with Mirotic at center and Giannis. Maybe you'd say Giannis is the center, but Mirotic, not the help defender that Ilyasova or Lopez are.
Yeah, and so there's some weak points there if Giannis is at the point of attack instead of being at the rim.
Here's Giannis against Kawhi. One-on-one, help comes from Van Vliet. Giannis had Hill open in the corner. Now they get it over to him. He takes the 3, not there. Excellent box out by Green on Connaughton. Van Vliet, Powell going at Mirotic with the Eurofall. That should count. He picked it up.
I think they're giving it to him. Yeah. Yep, they're there. Yep, it's the right call.
Yeah, he started his gather. Absolutely, that's an and one.
And just a terrible foul by Mirotic.
That's right.
Because you got beaten and you compounded the error. Powell had total time to right himself. You didn't stop him from doing anything, and you get the foul.
Yeah, and maybe if he's more concerned about getting into position and meet him at the rim instead of fouling him, you could make a play.
Or even like trail him from behind or anything. Anything with that.
Mirotic off the screen. Van Vliet switches out on him, doesn't have the length to contest, but Mirotic unable to convert. They get it to Kawhi, guarded by Hill. He's got the size advantage here. Kawhi getting to his right against Hill, goes into two guys. He's got Powell in the left corner. His three is off. Ibaka keeps it alive. Green left hand rejected by Giannis. Ibaka with the jam. And Mike Budenholzer with a very vehement timeout signal. And clearly, Danny, this Bucks defense with no Lopez, no Ilyasova, much more permeable in the early going here in the second.
Yeah, the lack of support rim protection for Giannis has been a notable development in this stretch, and Toronto has gotten a lot around the basket. They've gotten a lot that relates to, making Nikola Mirotic a help defender, not a strength in his game.
Did we do the shot charts before? No. Maybe I'll just refresh those.
Sure.
As of now.
Yeah, because they've gotten a few around the basket, so that might feel different. Oh, thanks to those who subscribed on Twitch Prime.
Yay!
How much better does Wiggins have to get to pass the Nene test? So the Nene test, for people who don't know, that's whether a player on their contract is a positive or negative asset. A lot better. I mean, he's paid probably like the third best player on a really good team.
I mean, you really got to be like a top 20, 25 player, maybe top 30 player in the NBA at that type of number. All right,
he's far from that.
Catch you up here quickly on the shot chart. 6 of 8 at the rim for Toronto. I mean, that's not a ton. They're only getting, I think, 19% of all their shots at the rim in this series, which is incredibly low. But then the three-point shooting has been solid at 6 out of 15. And getting on the offensive glass a little bit, too, now for Toronto with 6 offensive rebounds, 3 already in this quarter, and Ibaka has 3.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then for Milwaukee, 4 of 12 from downtown, 3 of 5 at the foul line. Still stuck on those 3 offensive rebounds. At the rim, 6 of 9. So they're really not, Milwaukee's got to win the battle at the rim. They haven't been able to do that yet. And only been forced into 4 mid-range shots, making 2 of those.
Oh, that's a good question. Somebody reposted it. Who is the next first-time MVP if Giannis wins this year? So not counting Giannis.
Oof, yeah. I mean, that's tough. And we've talked about this, too, of how, Giannis's 2013 draft, 2014 to 2017 drafts don't really have that player that you look at as really the next ascendant guy.
And Towns and those guys haven't really gotten to that level.
And Towns gonna be on too shitty of a team anyway. He's right. They're gonna be bad for a long time unless he,
or maybe not bad, incredible. but not good enough for you to seriously consider a guy for MVP. You're not going to see an Alex Rodriguez MVP probably in basketball unless they do what Russell Westbrook did. And even then, they made the playoffs.
Well, and you can't really have an Alex Rodriguez MVP in basketball because one guy, if he's that good,
you're going to be better.
Make the playoffs.
Yeah. It could be. Somebody said Anthony Davis. It could be him, but it would take a while.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, but it's hard for me to see him going to a team. Well, I mean, I guess if he goes to the Celtics with Kyrie, then
and even a lot of the young ball handlers that I like. I'm a fan of Luka. I'm a fan of Trae Young. To me, when I watch them, I do not see MVP level of dominance. It's a different thing.
AD is probably the right choice, though, if you had to bet on anyone in particular.
I mean, could it be Kawhi?
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. That's probably actually. Although maybe he's just not going to play enough the rest of his career, though. All right, we're back here. Good denial by Kawhi on Giannis. Now Middleton looking to drive, goes for the floater, and he hits it. But once again, Toronto, we've seen Milwaukee do this to Toronto. Van Vliet, Kawhi that time, the denials on the wing, just taking them out of the play that they want to run. That's right out of a timeout, too. You want to be able to run your play that time. Kawhi getting to his right. Behind the back, Ibaka. He shoots the 3 over Lopez. In and out. Another offensive rebound, but Bucks able to recover. That probably doesn't technically count as an offensive rebound. Here's Brogdon getting to his right hand. Wants to get the foul on Green. Cannot. Powell looking to push. Another transition opportunity for Toronto. Kawhi setting the screen. Middleton forcing him down towards the baseline. Kawhi trying to snake it. Wants another foul. Can't get it. Ibaka back to Kawhi. Now Kawhi goes at Lopez. Ibaka right under the rim for the dunk. Giannis was lost in space that time. He didn't really know who he was guarding. And Toronto unpacking this Bucks defense at the rim all of a sudden. It's the three-point shooting. This is going to be a little push on Danny Green.
Well, what opened up Ibaka on that play, he set a screen of maybe dubious legality on Middleton, got Middleton out of the play, and that forced Lopez to move up. And so then, like, I talk about that a lot, that big men screening better actually opens them up for better shots. And, I mean, I would love to see guys like Porzingis set better screens.
Hand off to Giannis. Ibaka switching on to him. Plenty of time on the clock. He's going to get the runway, go at him. Kawhi helping perfectly off of him, off of Lopez. Giannis will try again. Same result, but he's into the corner this time for Middleton. Lowry tried to take the charge, and the failed charge leads to the wide open corner three by Middleton. Powell, guarded by Giannis, not an advantage matchup. Van Vliet, this is Van Vliet and Lowry together for Toronto. Ibaka, mid-ranger over Lopez, and maybe that's a little bit of an overhelp by Lopez with Van Vliet, not an amazing driver, but that's the Milwaukee scheme. Giannis into the lane, bothered by Van Vliet. George Hill back to Giannis. Giannis attacking again. Now he's got Lopez as Ibaka just fell asleep on him completely, and that's a lucky break for Toronto. Here's the screen for Powell from Kawhi. His jumper is way off, though. They throw it ahead to Giannis. Oh, Lowry stops him and is called for the foul.
I want to see this again.
I thought it was clean seeing it live, but maybe we'll see more contact. Lowry acknowledging the foul.
And that's
maybe he got him on the arms. But that's with the way Giannis has shot free throws in this series, not the end of the world. Although, as noted by you, Lowry prone to the foul on occasion. Yeah, and he got him clearly.
Yep.
With that angle. Marc Gasol thought it should be a jump ball.
He often does when it's his team on defense. Also, that jump ball would not have been a huge advantage. What would you have preferred? Would you have preferred a jump, a Kyle Lowry, Giannis jump ball, or Giannis shooting 2 free throws?
Yeah, well, you just missed one of them. Ilyasova is back now. He'll replace Lopez. Bud continuing to just shuffle his guys in and out. Really, it's been about 3-minute stints for these bigs, which I appreciate. I mean, those guys playing real hard can really matter a lot.
Well, and you want them to get up and down the floor, especially in transition defense. So if that helps them stay engaged, by all means.
They screen Powell for Gasol. Gasol at the elbow, bothered by Ilyasova, and Ilyasova will pick up the foul.
And incidentally, that's the type of reach and deflection that Marc Gasol has gotten a lot, not only in this series, but throughout these playoffs. But it looked like Ersan got a little bit more contact on that, and that's why they called the foul.
Siakam replaces Powell, who played well. I thought the offense really opened up with the additional shooting of Powell, at least in this series. Giannis is out. Lopez right back in again. They've got two uber helpers in Ilyasova and Lopez. Here's a wide open three up top for Lowry. Can't get that. Great look, though. Great job by Toronto getting penetration. Here's Bledsoe into the lane. He'll kick it out. Middleton, his three. Late contest by Lowry is ineffective.
And Middleton now 2 for 3 from 3, 4 of 5 from the field for 11 points.
That sequence all started by a hard push from Bledsoe. Screened by Gasol. Kawhi snaking back to his right. He's got the advantage on Lopez. Now back out. Quick pass from Gasol. Siakam's going to roll right in on the baseline and reverse it easily.
And great job using the rim there to avoid Brook Lopez's big-ass arm.
Middleton guarded by Siakam. Brogdon hasn't done much in this game. Siakam chesting up on Middleton. Middleton gets him in the air and jumps in. And this is something actually I wanted to talk about here. I don't know if you saw, Danny, I retweeted the official NBA refs which is actually the referees union. It's not the NBA official Twitter account, explaining why that foul from the game yesterday where Steph Curry jumped like 3 feet forward into Zach Collins was called a foul. And apparently, at least according to the official NBA refs account, anytime the defender is jumping forward, he is not entitled to that space at all. If you are jumping forward, the offensive player is allowed to jump forward into him, and it is a foul. Now, if you jump sideways, that's a different matter. But if two players jump forward into each other, basically,
The
the
tie
foul
goes
is
to
on
the
the
offensive
defense.
player.
Yeah. Now, I don't think that's what the rule should be. I think that in that case, it is still the offensive player creating the contact. So I don't like that that's what the rule is, but that's what we should expect, and Middleton takes full advantage that time. Backdoor by Lowry is taken away. Gasol into the lane. He floats up a high, arcing turnaround jumper over Brook Lopez. Difficult shot going to his less preferred right shoulder. Ilyasova finding Lopez. Lopez putting it on the floor. Good help comes from Van Vliet. Now it's Brogdon. He gets past Gasol, misses the layup, but Siakam could not get the box out on Ilyasova. It's actually Powell who should have had the initial box out there.
Brogdon was trying to repeat, though from the opposite side, his cheeky finish on Kawhi in Game 3.
Siakam tries to throw the pass baseline, had no angle. And you saw Eric Bledsoe looking to help on Siakam. I think the Bucks are very attuned to that matchup after Siakam burned Ilyasova a couple of times in the first quarter of Game 1. This has been good minutes, and now they throw it into Gasol, and it goes away. Goes awry, I should say. Here's a three from Bledsoe. Again, another miss. But this is good with Giannis out of the game. Milwaukee making up ground. Van Vliet not looking to take that deep three. Wants to put Ilyasova in the mix. Gets past him. Drive and kick. And then he throws it away. No, they're going to say it was deflected.
And that's the driver. I've talked about this a lot with Draymond Green before these playoffs when he's finished more, of drivers who are not looking to finish at all and playing them for the pass.
Here's Van Vliet snaking the pick and roll, engages Lopez. Middleton lost Powell, but it was not looking to take the three. Instead, it's back to Van Vliet. Excellent work by Van Vliet. That's always something you can do, and Van Vliet's one of the better ones at it. Yeah. Steph Curry, of course, too.
Middleton lost Powell, then Middleton lost Van Vliet, and Van Vliet gets open for three.
Well, actually, I wouldn't put that on Middleton because you remember Van Vliet had gone into Lopez. Lopez really had the late switch on him. And, it's not in a center's DNA to get out there on him, but there really wasn't a specific matchup for Van Vliet at that time. That's why getting late switch is important.
That's a good point.
Middleton probably should have switched back onto him.
Yeah, you're right that it might have been Lopez's assignment, but I think that's a recognition thing with, especially when the Bigs man is right there and you're in no worse position than he is.
So people saying after my explanation that all those Harden plays should be fouls, well, it's not if it's after you release the ball. We're talking about plays where you pump fake, get the guy in the air, and then jump into him before you even shoot it. That's we're not talking about plays where the guy shoots it and then sticks his legs outside of what his normal landing zone would be. So that Draymond play in Game 1 against Harden was a clear non-foul. So you're talking about two different things there. So Raps have Kawhi guarded by Brogdon again. That's a matchup that he's done better against than Middleton. They get Gasol at the elbow. Split cut action. Powell on the drive. Back out to Gasol. Great deflection by George Hill. Very active hands. Now Gasol trying to load to Giannis in transition. Van Vliet bothering him as well. Good D by Van Vliet. He's been awesome defensively in this game. Van Vliet again gets the hands out of it. And then Gasol with the strip. Lowry looking to push. He's got Kawhi on his right. Kawhi into Lopez. Stopped by Lopez. And what are they going to get here? Just a strip. Ball. Great defense all the way around. Here's Giannis. Brogdon's three-pointer. Not there. He did look off Bledsoe in the corner, but the way Bledsoe shot, I'd probably have looked him off too.
Yeah, Bledsoe's 1 for 4 from the field in this game.
Nick Nurse is going to get a timeout here with these scramble situations, and Nurse berating the officials for how that wasn't a foul with Kawhi underneath. But I thought looked pretty clean to me.
It seemed okay. Right now, from 3, Bucks 6-17, Toronto 7-19. So that's pretty close overall. +3 there, and then even at the free throw line because the Bucks have taken 2 more, but they both made 7. So it's 7-11, 7-9.
How many points does a team average per possession? Is it usually better to hack a 50% free throw shooter, or do teams average more than 1 point per possession? Usually, there's a number of components that come into it. I mean, a 50% free throw shooter, it depends what kind of a possession is. Certainly in transition, absolutely, it's better. But, there's some problems with your good players picking up fouls. There's also the fact that when you hack, especially if it's intentionally, before the possession is even started, for example, now you're giving up any chance of getting transition for yourself going the other way. You're putting your own offense in the half court every time that you hack. So a 50% free throw shooter is kind of right on the borderline of when the hacka would be effective. But certainly when it's a guy just going in for a layup where if you don't foul him, he's going to score. Yeah, you foul him every time.
And that's the whole concept of Eurofouls is stopping to fouling to stop a fast break is a higher, you're taking away a higher expected value shot than than a normal hack play.
Although to be clear, a Euro foul is when you're not in the penalty, fouling before it's a shooting foul to stop the fast break. It's a little bit
different, but it's the same idea.
Let's see here. Are we doing anything live tonight? Well, I guess that's this, right? But yeah, we're doing the pod. We already recorded on last night's game and Portland's off season, and we'll record on this game. Yeah, good point. Actually, it's 3 fouls on Siakam.
From Kyle Lee, have you noticed Karl Anthony Towns being really bad at setting screens? Yes, I wish he set better screens, and every once in a while he sets a good one, and then you're like, oh yeah, he can do this, but he doesn't very often.
Well, sometimes you're as a big who's probably more talented than the guy that you're setting the screen for, the inclination is to roll early to get your own offense, to get separation from the screen instead. And, and it used to, I still think those guys should set harder screens more often. Sometimes the play call is, especially if you're a pop guy too, you're more likely to slip it early and try to get out to the 3-point line. The 2 guys who killed me with their refusal to set hard enough screens were Carlos Boozer and David Lee. Back in the day, those guys would slip it every single time.
Do you know Ethan's line on this? Ethan said David Lee's toggle was always set to slip, which I always really enjoyed. Well, and another guy like that, even though he's much thinner than those 2 gentlemen, is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant has been a notoriously passive screener in his career. And I mean, I understand why when a lot of the other guys can use that as an excuse to body into him, but he could get some crazy looks if he screened a little better.
This would be a good question for halftime. I'm going to save this one actually. Oh, can I not copy out of this thing? Let me see.
You should be able
ranking this summer in terms of excitement, in terms of the off seasons that we've covered.
Oh, okay.
Let's see it.
The dread of 2016 was fun.
The dread.
Well, just the bad contracts that we knew were coming.
Yeah.
I mean, not the KD stuff.
All right, we're back here. Kawhi with Giannis switched onto him. Picks up his dribble. Not good spacing here from Toronto. They've got 2 guys staying together in the left corner, but they're still going to get a decent look here from Powell, but Mirotic did well to contest late in the clock. They load towards Giannis. You see Van Vliet again. Brogdon trying to take advantage. No space there, though. Giannis was right in his path. Mirotic getting past Gasol, floats it up, and this should be a shooting foul. We'll see whether Gasol got him early enough. Yeah, I mean, no, that should be a shooting foul, just like the one that Mirotic committed. And Gasol's saying, what the hell? But he never dribbled it again. Yeah, it's going to be, and they're in the bonus anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Mark's still angry.
Yeah, and taking an intentional foul for a guy like Gasol, who spent much of game 3 in foul trouble. He had 5 fouls for the last 15 minutes of the game. Not a great idea. Even if he's not in foul trouble now, that can happen very quickly. That is only the first for Gasol, though. Ibaka returning. He gets Gasol. Gasol still looking at the replay and wondering how that was a shooting foul.
Fortunately, very few people in foul trouble. Siakam's the only guy with 3. Green, Mirotic, Ilyasova, Brogdon all have 2.
Yeah, the foul line, a bugaboo again for Milwaukee, only 8 out of 13. Here's Lowry off a double screen. He gets opened up top. Not there. Good play, though. I like that one.
Yeah. Both of his misses in the second quarter have been good looks.
Giannis going at Kawhi. Kawhi with a great contest again. He got right into him. Here's the push from Van Vliet going at Brogdon. Euro step. Can't finish. Oh, Giannis with an amazing play to knock it away from Ibaka. And then Lowry commits the foul. Ibaka wondering where the foul was. But I think it was his own man, Kawhi, who really created most of the contact. That's just an incredible contest on the other end by Kawhi without fouling. Oh, yeah, that was a pretty obvious foul, actually, by Giannis now that we get the replay.
And
so
that
more free throws
yeah,
here, huh?
Exactly, more free throws.
Toronto cooling off from 3. They were 6 of 12, have hit only one of their last 8. Milwaukee, 6 of 17. They have cooled off as well.
And so these George Hill free throws, even though I think Toronto has meaningfully outplayed Milwaukee so far, could cut it to 4.
Interesting here, Danny. Kawhi, 1 assist, 1 for 5, 3 points, 1 of 2 from the foul line so far. I think his defense has been excellent when he's been able to get onto Giannis, as Hill hits a couple of free throws. This game has a different tenor to me than Game 3, though. I think Toronto has played better offensively. I like the looks that they're getting. It doesn't feel just so hopeless for them right now. Lowry, pick and pop, Ibaka. Good shot, good result.
And that's the type of shot that's making me feel more comfortable. Their guys are getting, their bigs especially, are getting in-rhythm jump shots in ranges they can hit.
Yeah. And they've cooled off from 3, but hitting them at the beginning really unlocks Milwaukee's defense. Now there's a strip. Mirotic lost it. Kawhi looking to push it. Giannis, great hustle back there. No advantage gained on that odd man rush. Lowry looking to screen for Kawhi. Hill and he are involved. Kawhi goes at Lopez, and he's going to pick up the foul. This is just a hilarious interplay between Hill and Lowry as Hill tries to stop Lowry from getting up to set the screen. And then Lowry grabs Hill, but Kawhi with incredible ball handling to get past without even a screen being set. I mean, look at this right hand by Kawhi. It's fantastic. And then Lopez probably could have gone a little more vertically there. Picks up the foul.
And that's his second. So 2 isn't a problem, but if he gets a third before the end, Budenholzer won't like it.
Kawhi hitting the first in Toronto. Much like the pattern we saw in Game 1 and Game 3. Milwaukee getting it close. Toronto extending the lead back out.
And Eric Bledsoe doesn't look like he's going to be closing out this half, and he shouldn't because he hasn't been good.
Yeah, it's really been a struggle for him. Like the fact that he can't shoot has really caused problems for Milwaukee's offense and Giannis. I mean, you think about all those times that Van Vliet in particular or Lowry, whoever's guarding him, have been mucking things up for their spacing. Brogdon off a screen. They're trying to get Giannis to the free throw line. They've run this play a number of times. Kawhi gets through it. They didn't really go quickly enough to gain an advantage. Here's the pass to the corner. Mirotic on the drive. Lowry steps up. Mirotic eludes him nicely.
I do enjoy the ways that guys are getting used to eluding blatant charge attempts.
Here's Lowry on the drive. He's got Powell. Loads up from the right corner. Norman Powell cannot miss a jump shot, it seems like, in this series. And once again, I mean, that's really an overhelp by Milwaukee. There are other guys there. Kyle Lowry, make him finish at the rim over length. And instead, wide open corner 3 for Powell. Middleton sets the screen to get Green onto Giannis. Giannis trying to drive, gets past Kawhi. Corner to Mirotic. What a pass! And Mirotic, again, man, he has had some chances to make big shots in this first half. Kawhi putting Middleton in the mix. Wants to get to his right. Does. Down the lane. Couldn't pick up the dribble, though. Almost lost it. Now he's got Giannis. Kawhi sizing up Giannis. Now Powell. He's going to feel it from 3. Not there.
And so far in this game, 8 bench points for the Bucks, 28 for Toronto.
Here's a drive again by Brogdon. Mirotic, no look. Middleton, and Chris Middleton just an ice shooter, continues what has been the best three-point shooting career in NBA playoff history tonight.
Well, and they've been wide open threes in this game.
Here's Lowry trying to drive between two guys and picks up the trip. He came off the screen from Kawhi, and Giannis was there a little bit late. Again, they're going with Mirotic at center, and so that really opens the game up on both ends.
Yeah, so Middleton's 3 of 4 from 3. I believe all 3 of his made ones were open looks off of a double, his man doubling or at least crashing hard in. And yeah, I mean, there are times where that's the right read, but Middleton's going to make a lot of those shots.
Yeah. But, overall, I don't think you can fault Toronto's defense. I think they've been pretty good here. Only 22 points for Milwaukee in this quarter.
The best offenses force defenses into tough choices. That's the whole idea. I've said before, that's the whole idea of offense, is to force defenses into tough choices.
8-point Toronto lead. Milwaukee will try to get the 2-for-1. Expect them to go with about 36 seconds here. Now they're going a little early. Giannis, back to goal. Help is there from Kawhi at the top off of Middleton, but they want Middleton up top, so they won't help as much. Here's Mirotic, quick 3 again. Nikola Mirotic.
What a rebound!
That was awesome. Mirotic feeling it. Still, man, he's had his chances for sure. These are tough contested looks. He is 6'10". He can shoot over the defense, but not amazing. Kawhi, 3-second differential. Going a little early here, in my opinion. Now he gets it out to Lowry. Middleton with the denial wouldn't let Kawhi get it back. Lowry pick and roll, going at Mirotic into the lane. Mirotic called for the trip. Nikola Mirotic, that'll be his 3rd personal foul, and frankly, it may be better for Milwaukee if he ends up sitting. They've got Lopez on the bench here. Yeah, and there Mirotic does get him across the arm.
Yeah, and the lower body contact that Kyle Lowry was trying to sell, that was making me think of that a couple of years from now, he could end up being a little bit like Chris Paul in terms of just relying so much more on the call-seeking parts of his game because he can't create as much outside of it. I'm a little bit concerned about that.
Bledsoe will return. I like this sub because Bledsoe, a good push guy with 6.5 remaining. Milwaukee now down to 7 of 21 from downtown. And they really have not had the game yet in this series where they shoot that 40% and the deluge comes. More free throws from Lowry, giving Toronto the 10-point lead. Bledsoe looking to push it. Giannis going right down the lane, stopped from behind by Green, but a foul is called.
And off of a made free throw.
Well, you know what that was? That was actually a great play call because Kawhi is trying to deny Giannis the ball in bounds. They get it into Bledsoe. Giannis sprints past Kawhi. Nobody's going to be fast as Giannis just sprinting down floor, and that's how they gave that up. Giannis took advantage of Kawhi's denial that time. It was really nice.
So Giannis is 2 of 4 at the line before these 2 free throws and had that rough miss. So hopefully, let's see, there we go. That looked more in rhythm. Didn't look bad.
His routine, hopefully his routine in practice isn't this 9 dribbles thing. Because you can't act, it's inefficient to practice that way. Like if you do 1 dribble the way Steph Curry does, you could probably get up 3 practice shots for every 1 that Giannis gets up.
I counted, watching his hand movement, that was 8 dribbles.
Yeah, it's either 8. Oh, and what a bad foul by Middleton. Just atrocious.
Was that Lowry on Jimmy Butler in the last series? There was one of those where it was like a real like low opportunity and it produced free throws.
I don't recall.
That's just a terrible. I mean, what? So Lowry catches the ball in his own half with 1.9 seconds left to go. Even if he gets that deflection, the chances that he gets that deflection, corrals it, and gets a shot up are low. And now they get 2 free throws by a guy who can make them. That was terrible.
Yeah, so Lowry hitting the first free throw with a little bit of luck. Yeah, I mean, that's Toronto. I mean, 7 seconds left. It's understandable maybe if you give something up. Hopefully not that easy. But, I mean, what's he going to do there with 1.9 seconds remaining?
Exactly.
It was just insane. Bucks get it in. Bledsoe, let's see if they can avoid fouling here. He actually got a pretty good look in 2 seconds. Eric Bledsoe is quick, but it was not close. I wonder if Giannis does the 9 drills to guarantee the maximum amount of rest every time. To me, I would want to go faster. I mean, everybody's got their own free throw routine, and you don't want to fuck with people's free throw routines. But if the players were willing, I might say, if I'm Bud, we've got so much depth, we play so fast. Let's not give, and we get to the foul line a lot. Let's not give the other team a rest. Let's shoot it really quickly on our free throws. Make these guys get tired out more. We're the ones who are in better shape. We're the ones with more depth. We want to tire you out until the end.
Do you want to do some questions or do you want to do some stats first?
Yeah, let's hit some stats. We got that question waiting about the best off season.
Yeah. So I think where I want to start here is Toronto's offense. 133 offensive rating. True shooting is 62%. Offensive rebounds, Milwaukee's toned down. Toronto's did not. They're at 35% of their own misses. So, and it's not crazy. Like, this isn't unsustainable three-point shooting. 8 of 22 is good, but it's not ridiculous. They've gotten to the line a lot, 17 free throws for both teams, and they've made 15 of those, a couple offensive rebounds. But I've liked the looks that Toronto has generated overall. I think that's a really important takeaway. After they looked, even in Game 3 where they won, there were times where it just felt like they were holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
And they've done better in the half court. I think they've done some nice work in transition as well. I think that's a huge takeaway and a huge positive for them. Now, even if they win this game, they still have to win a road game to win the series, but they've played so much better.
Well, and the usual fortress that Milwaukee builds their defense around, the defensive glass, preventing shots at the rim, and in part because they prevent shots at the rim, not fouling. All three of those have failed. The 8 offensive rebounds, overall 35% offensive rebounds for Toronto, 15 of 17 at the foul line. And then, Toronto getting more shots at the rim, in part because they're getting to the basket more. Let's see if Ben has the shot charts ready. Yeah, so Toronto at the rim, 8 of 13. That's more. That's like a normal league average number of shots at the rim. And then you throw in the number of fouls too, and they've caused problems. And I think a lot of it has been, even when Lopez has been in, it's been an issue. But when Lopez has been out, Lopez is +1 and they trail by 10.
So you talked about that 13 being a totally reasonable number as a point of comparison. That's the same 13 shots at the rim that Milwaukee has. Milwaukee's gotten there. A lot of Milwaukee's has been in transition. Like Giannis had a couple of those early on. The Bucks, 2 of 3 from both floater range and mid range. So that's a combined 4 of 6. And then Milwaukee, they've had some stretches where they were shooting it a little bit better, but they ended up 7 of 22. That's a little bit worse than 33% from 3.
Yeah, to be clear on that Middleton stat, by the way, it's of guys who attempt 4 more threes per game.
And I've played 1,000 minutes.
Yeah, I thought I wanted to get at least some modicum of a sample size there. Anything else to talk about on the first half here? I was going to take a quick break, but I can do that after we.
No, I can answer some questions.
All right, so you don't have anything else you want to talk about? Here a couple of things. Middleton, 3 of 4 from downtown, 16 points, and he's done it.
Sir, go ahead.
He's done it on only 7 shooting possessions. So, that's pretty good efficiency.
Yeah, 3 threes and a 3-shot foul. And Bledsoe's been rough. His defense has been okay, but he's 1 of 5 from the field. They're leaving him open a lot. He's having a lot of spillover effects. And considering the minutes that he squares with Giannis, that's a little bit of a challenge. I think Gasol and Ibaka have both looked more comfortable offensively.
Yeah, the offensive rebounding from Ibaka has been fantastic.
And he's been hitting those mid-range jumpers with no hesitation. He was great on those a lot of this season. Van Vliet has looked better to me. He's looked a little bit more lithe, and then his defense has been great.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see Fred Van Vliet showing some effectiveness because he's a good player. And last year, you remember, he had that shoulder injury in the meaningless... Well, not entirely meaningless because I think they wanted to, it would have determined in somewhat who they might have played in the first round. But in the meaningless, for at least Toronto's seeding, last game of the season in Miami, he messes up his shoulder and really had a miserable playoffs. He was questionable for a lot of it. was never really able to get into any kind of a rhythm in the playoffs. So it's good to see him having a nice effect here because he's a solid player.
Yeah, and he had so much trouble against Orlando and then didn't have a good series against Philly either. So, yeah.
Another point, which Zach Lowe was all over, of the idea of, oh, well, Milwaukee, all these guys on their team played badly. Giannis had like the worst game of his playoff career. And, they still almost won in double overtime. But he made the point of, are you really going to get 44 combined points on great efficiency from Brogdon and Hill? And those guys have only 5 points in a combined 31 minutes so far here.
Yeah, on 1 of 7 from the field and then 1 of 4 from the 3-point line.
You need anything?
No, I think I'm good. Realistically, isn't Rosa stuck with Wiggins? Yes. I mean, I had Wiggins as the worst contract in the league. For me, it's him and John Wall. And the larger point isn't so much that he's untradeable, because no contract is untradeable. It's that there isn't a sufficient reason for Minnesota to make that move unless another team feels really differently about Wiggins, which is 100% possible. I mean, I admit that I am lower on Wiggins. Granted, I've been low on Wiggins the whole damn time, and I've been right pretty much the whole damn time. But that's the whole thing, So if you can find somebody who sees him as even a slight negative asset, run and do it as fast as you can. But it's going to be hard for that. There aren't as many bad GMs in the league right now, and that's a real challenge. What is the ideal landing spot for Kyrie Irving? So I still think I can't, even though I know all the chemistry stuff and everything else like that, I still think in terms of personnel, it's probably Boston, especially if they can get Anthony Davis. That team has a lot of defensive talent. They have bigs that can work on screens with him. They can use the ball a lot. Now, is that the best thing for the Celtics? Yeah, I think it probably is, especially if they get AD. But for Kyrie Irving, I think it's there. You guys see Game of Zones? I think I'm 2 Game of Zones behind. I do watch it frequently, but I think maybe I'm 1 behind because it comes out on Thursdays.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch that lottery one yet, but I'm looking forward to finding some time to do that. All right, you want to answer that question now about the off seasons?
Yeah, so we want to do the Dunked On era started in 2015. So 15 was one that we were interested in just kind of because we knew where the market was going.
Yeah.
But there weren't that many high profile free agents from what I recall. You probably have a more encyclopedic memory of that than
in 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Aldridge was a big one at that time. Kawhi was a restricted free agent at that time.
Yeah, that was the Kawhi Drummond one that led to them changing the cap hold rule in the 2017 CBA.
Yeah.
16 was the Madhouse, but it also had KD, which was such a huge swing piece.
I think 16, just because so many teams had space and there was this feeling that like every team had hope coming into it, at least, right?
Yeah. And the other thing that was really different between 16 and 19 is the quality of players that were available. So like Durant, obviously ridiculous, but then it dropped off pretty quickly after him. I mean, there were some other guys that made a difference, but it wasn't like this year where there were like 7 max caliber players. And so, yeah, not every team's going to be happy, but a lot more teams are going to be happy than this year, where they're going to be squads, especially if guys leave their current teams. That'll be real problems. 17, Gordon Hayward, which was an interesting drama. You and I both happened to be in Salt Lake City when that happened, which was interesting on that 4th of July. And that kind of set up some of the Boston stuff, the weird Miami like zigging when everybody zagged and signing a bunch of guys after Gordon Hayward spurned them to go to the Celtics. Yeah. And then last year to me, I mean,
other than LeBron
and Paul George
sucked, right?
Yeah, Paul George was interesting, but
what was
crazy about last year was all of the drama was done by noon on July 1st.
Yeah.
So like LeBron sent his fax or whatever it was.
Yeah. I mean, I think this one, 2017 also had like the trades of Kyrie and Paul George, although we didn't know that Kyrie was going to request a trade.
Well, yeah.
into
So
that offseason.
those were at interesting points too, because the Paul George trade was before July 1st. I think it was on June 30th. And then the Kyrie trade was while I was on a train in Iowa in August. So
Yeah, I mean, well, so how it doesn't have to necessarily be the dunked on era, I guess. To me, I would say 2019, 2010, which I wasn't covering, but I remember obviously, and then 2016 would be my rankings.
yeah, I would have 20. I would probably have 2010 over 19. But it's hard because the hindsight is so much there. But I mean, LeBron, peak of his powers or damn close to it, was such a special thing, and then what it turned into, becoming those Miami guys, was really incredible. But this year, I think it is kind of a strength and volume idea where Kawhi's decision is fascinating. Like what happens with Anthony Davis, Kyrie, Kevin Durant, like all these guys. I think the volume is way better this year than in 2010. But I don't know. There was some magic with that, and I had just started covering the league for Real GM, so and had been, and that LeBron decision changed the way I thought about free agency. So something I've talked about a lot in terms of finding out on the third contract what a player prioritizes, and we're gonna have a lot of those decisions this year. Kyrie,
Yeah.
Kawhi.
Well, here's the other thing too, I guess, that makes this year, which is a point you've been all over, is the idea that it's teams that are already really good that have these free agents.
Yeah, but it's still not for sure that they're gonna keep him.
Right.
It's so different. So the stakes are incredibly high, and then the other part is this year, sort of paralleling 2015. How well do teams read the tea leaves relative to next year? Because I think some teams are going to keep the powder dry and going to really mess up because next year's class is just abysmal. And what's so concerning about 2020 is more so than the lack of star power, because that is a concern, is that there aren't even that many people who are real like breakout candidates in the 2020 class. Like you're sitting there like for like guys like Derek Favors. You're like, could Derek Favors break out? Probably not. Like I don't think he's going to become a top 10 center or anything like that. I like Derek Favors. I like him a lot. And AD is kind of a different thing, but my instinct is that he's not going to hit the open market. So it's a little bit different.
Do the Bucks have a reasonable chance of re-signing Mirotic with their cap concerns? I think it's they could if they're willing to pay some tax, or if one of their other guys leaves. Certainly, Mirotic is a pretty good player. He's very useful in terms of helping keep everyone fresh, which is going to be a major component. Hasn't had the greatest playoffs. He is coming off of that thumb surgery, but he's still got to get guarded out there, regardless. So we'll have to see what other kinds of offers he gets. He's probably less valuable to the Bucks than other teams. He's may not start in Milwaukee either. But they have the means to re-sign him. They have full bird rights. It's just a question of whether ownership is willing to make that financial commitment or not.
And the years could end up being a huge question for Mirotic, because how long, like if they're committing serious years to Brogdon as well, and obviously they want to with Giannis, assuming Giannis is cool with it. So,
how do I sync up? Try the YouTube link.
Yeah. Nate tweeted out a couple of minutes ago, and I retweeted it like 2 minutes ago.
Oh man, I haven't even been on Twitter at all here. I want to see if there's anything interesting that we should tell you all about.
Can teams talk with their own free agents before July 1st? Yeah. I don't know. I've never been exactly sure. Like tampering, because it's not formally like in the CBA, it's in the bylaws, is never been. I'm not a bylaws expert. I'm closer to a CBA salary cap expert.
What's the question?
Can teams talk with their own free agents before July 1st?
Well, you can talk to them.
You can't agree to a contract.
Yeah, in theory, agreeing to a contract is verboten, but effectively, I mean, we see this all the time with guys opting out, and then Pau Gasol in the summer of 2017 is the perfect example.
That's a great one. I was thinking of what was happening with DeAndre Jordan and the Clippers and the Mavericks last year. That's another kind of like teams and players talking. But really, I think the line for a lot of this type of stuff is, do you create an enforceable obligation? If you create an enforceable obligation, then no, you cannot do it. But if you're outside of that, you might be able to get away with it, especially if you do it through appropriate channels. Player you were highest on that ended up not meeting your expectations. In recent vintage, Dante Exum. And Dante Exum has clarified the way that I thought about point guards who their biggest strength was not running an offense. I think that was... I learned a lot from my mistakes, and I think that was an important one for me. All time... Well, so I had a history. You can go back. All of my archives are out from when I started writing about the draft in 2007 or 2008 on my various sites.
By the way, if anyone has done that, and when Danny says, "Oh, you can go back to this thing from 2009," I'd love to hear from anyone in the comments who has actually done that and like what
I've done it.
Like,
my writing was douchier then, but my analysis wasn't too bad. But so like I what I did a lot then was I would be high on somebody and then I would turn on them before they were drafted. Like Kyle Singler. Like I thought Kyle Singler was going to be good, and then by his second or third year at Duke, I'm like, oh no. Because I started calibrating like he was a better college player than pro player, and so I started learning that. So like he would be bigger if we were measuring it then, but I had him as a second round pick when he was drafted.
All right, we're starting the second half.
That was a fun halftime.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. Actually, here's a question for you guys in the comments. Do you like it more during the breaks if we talk about like what we're seeing in the game or take questions? Here's Middleton off the screen. Lowry right there on his back. Cuts him off. Middleton pulls up and scores right over him. Chris Middleton continues his hot play with Milwaukee within 8. Siakam guarded by Giannis. Not an advantage matchup. I think they're just doing an ISO for Siakam here out of the timeout. That's interesting. Back out to Lowry. He gets past Bledsoe. His three-pointer wide open goes in and out. And that seems like an overhelp to me from Bledsoe with Siakam posting up Giannis. Like, let him just guard him. Here's Giannis going at Kawhi, trying to spin. He's stuck in the lane. Gasol picking up the foul on the reach-in.
I understand that some of it is scheme-based. I think Toronto has too little faith in Kawhi guarding Giannis. You don't need to send as much help as they're sending.
Yeah, I mean, what they're doing is working. But
yeah, sure.
It's hard to criticize too much. Yeah, I think you can nitpick here and there.
I will.
Now Siakam switching on to Giannis. Help is going to have to come here. Giannis down the lane. That's got to be a charge. No. Yes.
Yes. For some reason, it took the ref who couldn't see it to call it, but it was a charge.
Yeah, I mean, when you knock the guy down and your legs land on either side of his body, you probably committed a charge at that point. It's pretty safe to say the guy was in your path. Middleton trying to topside Kawhi. Siakam can't get it to him. Gasol just going to lob the backdoor pass. Oh, Kawhi quick dunked. Giannis with the left, but Kawhi. Oof, man, that...
Oh, I think Giannis's knee caught him in the back of the leg.
All right, well, hopefully it's a contusion rather than something
that's not the angle.
More of a ligament. I mean, what an awesome quick dunk there. Every time he tries one of those, it looks like he tweaks something, but you can't really tell with him. That was a fantastic pass by Gasol. I want to say that's like the first backdoor with all the topsiding denying that Milwaukee's been doing. That's like the first backdoor they've got in the whole series.
A really strong and partially illegal push off by Kawhi there to create that separation. Just chucked Middleton and just broke straight at that moment.
Yeah, Danny Green, by the way, just totally saved Pascal Siakam, who was guarding Giannis for some dumb reason and left Mirotic wide open in the corner, and Danny Green guarded two guys and got a deflection to save him from a wide open three. Bledsoe driving at Siakam, knocks him back, almost travels. Giannis will have to take the three. Can he finally make one? No. Green with the box out, and we're going to stay right here as he pushed Mirotic under the hoop. Yeah, and Green had Mirotic's right arm locked up. That's where the contact comes from there, not necessarily on the box out. Giannis, 5-4 or 4-5 pick and roll. They get the switch. He's going at Siakam. Swings it. Bledsoe on the drive into Kawhi. Kawhi stops him right there. And you see the problem with Bledsoe not wanting to take that open three. He just drives into traffic instead. Siakam looking to go at Giannis. Again, not an advantage matchup. And the result indicates that. But a great tip out by Lowry on the offensive glass. Kawhi underneath to Lowry. Here's Siakam, corner three. Oh, man, that could have been a big shot. They've had some chances to push the lead up with an open three from Siakam and Lowry. Middleton, guarded by Lowry. He's had the size advantage on him all game. Tries to get through the screen, and they're going to call, I think, a hold on Lowry as Middleton attempted to split it.
So, I mean, now the Bucks are down 11. I mean, still plenty of time to come back, but now it might be 13. Kawhi gets that nice steal, and Giannis gets back. Okay, good job by the Bucks getting back here to prevent a transition look.
Pick and roll. Kawhi tries to go through the arm of Giannis, but somehow recovers it despite looking like he's walking through the whole possession. Kawhi just going to go at him again. Pulls up. Good space, but it's short. Toronto has had their looks so far here. We'll see whether they rue not taking advantage. Lopez swings it to Mirotic. They try to get the screen to Middleton to the top. Toronto has not let them get anything on that action in this series. Screen roll with Lopez. Middleton, nice pass to the corner. Kawhi with the late close. Finally, Mirotic drains a three. Yeah, great pass from from Chris Middleton.
Now 2 for 7, and I love that pass where they're almost on the same line as the roller, and so it's harder for the defense to react.
Oh, that's twice now. Gasol again. They topside Middleton. They open up the side, and then Kawhi gets the back door. So they've taken advantage of that a couple of times now. That topsiding by Middleton. Maybe that'll allow Kawhi to get some easier catches out on the floor. More screen roll with Lopez. Middleton, Lopez, closed down by Gasol. He's going to try and drive. Lowry comes over. Steal by Gasol. 3-on-2 now. He's got Siakam as the trailer. Back to Siakam. He lays it up. And they got the blocking foul and one.
I think his heel was on the line. I'm guessing that's the way they called it.
Yeah, the outside official had the blocking foul, and he'll count it. What a pass that is from Gasol, by the way. I mean, he has been fantastic passing the rock. Now Gasol is up to 5 assists.
And no turnovers.
Yep. And Lowry also with 5 assists. Toronto, 19 assists on 24 field goals.
Again, a timeout before free throws while out. I mean, timeout, would you rather have the timeout after the free throws? It's better to have it before. Maintain that hard closeouts are better than flybys. They can be, but the footwork on is incredibly hard. And generally speaking, a hard closeout with a stop, you need a little bit more time to slow down. A flyby, it allows you to maintain your momentum, get a better contest. I think you use each of them in different circumstances. If you can do the hard closeout without flying by, I think you try it, but then there are times that you cannot. Do you guys like these Bucks jerseys? I think they're super ugly. I don't love I don't know if it's that it's too deep a green or if I just don't particularly like that hue. I'm just not a huge fan of it, but I do like them way better than their Mecca uniforms. Now, the Mecca uniforms, I love the sentiment behind them. I just don't like the look of them, personally.
Did anyone comment?
Oh, a bunch of people. So generally, what the feeling was, make sure that we talk plenty about the game itself, and then we can do questions kind of beyond that. So like major takeaways and then questions. So like kind of like what we did today. One person noted, and this is interesting, about maybe we don't need to go through the shot charts as much. I think part of why we do that is for our own edification, and it's like we're on the air, we don't take breaks. Like we would probably just note that internally.
Yeah, Scout with Brian thinks the shot charts are stupid too.
Do you guys watch the WNBA? Thoughts on it? I want to start watching it more. It generally it's unfortunate timing for me because that's right when I'm kind of a little bit burnt out, and so I'm not. I am a basketball lifer, but I need a little bit of a break. But I do enjoy it. I started watching the playoffs this past year, and I think I learned something from it, and I think the NBA players and college players would learn a lot from it too. The techniques and some of the like footwork that the WNBA players use is really useful. CJ's talked about that. Draymond's talked about that. Numerous players.
More people are saying questions than analysis.
Oh well, maybe you.
Yeah. Well, I've got this widget that's got like all
of them
all
together.
of the formats, and yeah, I'd say more people are saying questions unless something big happens. So
Yeah.
all right, but then we don't get to just hear ourselves blather on about what we want to talk about. All right, now we'll try.
Well, I mean, we choose which questions we talk about.
Yeah.
Will Gasol be a plus starter in 2 years? My instinct is no, but I mean his passing is a real positive and rim, like the rim protection part of it. But my instinct is no. 2 years is, I mean, because he's what 34 now.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big. Oh, now people are supporting. Now people are supporting the shot charts. Now that they heard that. now that they heard somebody denigrate the shot charts. So we like doing it. I think that'll still be.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the greatest indicator, number one, of the health of an offense, but number two of, that was a nice play, by the way. Number two of just how sustainable a team's performance is. Oh, nice pass underneath by Middleton, who has been an excellent passer in the series. That play was really interesting. They faked like they were going to do a cross screen for Middleton, and then he came out on an elevator doors on the other way. Here's a drive by Green. He's got no one to throw it to. Leonard just
standing
right
there.
Kawhi, he does get an economy of effort. Gasol, Middleton stunts towards him. Gasol takes the three and makes the three.
Kawhi reminds me of one of my college friends would play the Wii with minimal physical movement just to spite them. Kawhi is periodically like that.
Middleton lost it, but it went right to Lopez. Giannis at range against Kawhi. Speeds up, goes in, and scores on
There we go.
Siakam.
Giannis on Kawhi.
And you know what happened there? Kawhi was helping off of him, which makes sense to do, but then you let him get the running start. What Kawhi has been successful at is getting his chest into him, bothering him, moving his feet when he doesn't get the running start. Now Lopez, he gets the steal. No, they're going to call him for the wraparound as he went around the back of Gasol. Yeah, see,
he had his left hand.
Like, Kawhi is strong enough to not get knocked backwards when he starts there, but the spin move is too much. And, I mean, Kawhi still almost got a hand on that, even so.
I think was that Siakam or was that Kawhi?
Siakam came over at the end, but Kawhi was the initial defender. Here's Gasol posting up on Ilyasova. Ilyasova, as Gasol goes across the lane. Leonard on the drive. Gets past Middleton, but Middleton did well to contest, and Kawhi has not had the touch on the jump shot tonight. Green picking up Giannis, and he's called for. I thought that should have been a no call.
Yeah, so Kawhi for the night.
Yeah, and Giannis grabbed his arm too, by the way.
Kawhi 3 of 9 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, 4 of 5 from the line, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and 1 turnover.
Ilyasova looking to hand off to Middleton. He drives in. Ilyasova on a nice roll to the basket, and the late switch from Green did not get there early enough. Now Hill with the steal as they just threw it away from Lowry. What an awful inbound. That leaves Middleton. This is a dangerous 3, and he hits it. Milwaukee back within 7. Disastrous 5 seconds there for Toronto. Kawhi looking to attack. Gets past Ilyasova easily, and Ilyasova out on the floor just too slow to contain Kawhi. Middleton raises his hand, and he felt he should have contained him a little bit better. Man, Chris Middleton, I mean, you remember how well he shot it in that series against Boston last year, that crazy three-pointer he hit to tie game 1 from the right hash mark.
Yeah.
A game that they still ended up losing.
That was such a weird series.
Yeah, and it turns out the Bucks did have more talent than the Celtics. They did not have the better coaching. And the Celtics, to some degree, I thought got a little lucky in that series, too. I mean, there are a lot of games where they would hit these crazy contested shots at the end. And remember, there was that controversy in Game 5 with the shot clock as Kawhi misses the second free throw.
Also, holy shit, did Eric Bledsoe play badly in that series?
Yeah, about as badly as he's played in this series so far, frankly. They try to get Giannis at the elbow. Fakes the handoff to Middleton. They switch this seamlessly. Late clock, spin move, knocking back Siakam, but that's not a shot that Giannis really can hit very well. Kawhi in transition, going through two guys. Not a good idea, but he still gets it back somehow. Now he's got Ilyasova on him. Inside out dribble. Finds Lowry. Gasol. Corner Siakam. A 42% corner three-point shooter. Cannot get that one. Brogdon, who's done little so far tonight. Middleton, beautiful offense, I should say. The footwork on Kawhi, who was not ready.
Yeah, kind of wrong-footed him, and now Chris Middleton up to 8 of 9 from the field in this game. And the lead's down to 6.
Yeah, and Toronto continuing, I think, to get pretty good looks, but they're going to have to start finding an answer for Middleton. Wedge screen for Gasol. Now he changes that into a pick and roll. Lowry into the lane. Gasol not even thinking about shooting it, but he gets it to Siakam instead. And I thought Giannis there, I was surprised he didn't have a second reaction. Usually he's a little bit more advanced as a rim protector than that. Gasol faked, and I thought he could have gotten there to contest Siakam, and he just never moved. I mean, and not a lot of guys can make that play, but I think Giannis is one who can. Oh, Gasol with another block three-pointer. What length from him? Then Giannis missing the layup. And what are they going to call here? A blocking foul on the initial miss? Oh, man. Ken Maurer was all ready to call the offensive foul going the other way. And Siakam, if he could have just squared up a little bit more, maybe he gets that call. Ken Maurer was doing his, slap his hand.
And Maurer probably couldn't see that Siakam's right leg was still moving, too. Like, it was...
Yeah.
But that gets called a charge all the time. It's not...
Yeah, fourth foul on Siakam.
Yeah, and Danny Green also has 4.
Yeah, so it's this has been a little bit of a dodgy quarter from Toronto. I still like the looks they're getting, but they're not hitting as well, and Middleton has been absolutely on fire. Giannis way short yet again. Drake going to go open up the school gym with... those keys on his carabiner after this. Yeah, these free throws from Giannis really are just interminable. Makes that one. So 7-point game. They get it ahead to Powell, who likes to attack quickly. He's been successful at that. Gasol not looking to take the three right away. They want Kawhi in the post. They get it to him too late. Hill coming over for the double. Now it is the double from Hill. He's dancing back and forth. Kawhi just waits him out. Kick ball by Ilyasova, and they'll get a fresh 14 on the clock. Really interesting to watch George Hill there. They sent multiple cutters through the lane. That enabled him to just kind of hang out underneath.
Yeah, not get called for 3 seconds. And so now Giannis is coming out. Big couple of minutes for Milwaukee, and maybe even bigger minutes for Toronto if they can push this lead out a little bit and get more comfortable.
Lowry looking to post up Gasol. No space there. Now Kawhi goes away to open up the pass, and they're going to get a blocking foul on Ilyasova, who has been quite the foul magnet in these Toronto games. That's his third of the game here in a mere 10 minutes.
Yeah, now and so it was a story in the first half, and we're going to see if it continues. Toronto 28 bench points, Milwaukee 10.
Oh, wow. Matt Velasquez just tweeted that Ersan Ilyasova has been a foul magnet. All right.
Hey.
Van Vliet coming in. They'll align him with Lowry in the backcourt. That lineup works a little bit better when Giannis is out of the game. Sometimes you're just a little bit too small in help situations at the rim. Gasol, an excellent free throw shooter, making the second. Toronto restoring order to some degree with a 9-point advantage. Looks like they're going to bring Middleton across the cross screen. Now Kawhi is matched up with him. Kawhi with the steal, but it goes out of bounds. Man, he is just, those hands of his are just so ridiculous. Nobody like that. They handed off to Middleton and were trying to set up the fake DHO, and Kawhi just knocks it away. So Ibaka is in. Let's see if he gets on the offensive glass again like he did early. Here's the switch of Ibaka onto Middleton. Sets up Bledsoe. They can help off him again. Ilyasova closed down by Leonard. Here's Middleton. Great defense by Ibaka. And they're going to get a shot clock violation. Great job by Serge Ibaka a couple of times. That's where a lot of times the bigs, when they switch onto someone, will fail in staying with the guy after he gives the ball up. Ibaka did a great job.
Or selling out too hard or anything, everything's a great job by Ibaka.
High pick and roll involving Ilyasova now. Leonard has the man on his back. Goes into Ilyasova. Scoop shot. Not there. Kawhi now behind the play. They've got a 5-on-4. And that leaves Bledsoe open. Wide open underneath. Man.
That was a cool pass by Middleton.
Yeah, Chris Middleton's passing has been outstanding. Sometimes he can get a little bit myopic down there in the post going for his own offense. But he hasn't been that in this series. Ibaka going at Ilyasova. Leonard can't corral the loose ball. Bledsoe looking to cut it to 5, which it has not been in some time. Ilyasova, no, let's make it 4 if he can hit this. Not there. Big shot missed by Ilyasova.
The leading assisters in this game, tied with 6, Marc Gasol, Chris Middleton.
Leonard goes into Middleton, double teamed. They swing it. This will lead us to a wide open corner 3 from Powell. Yes, and just the incredible patience of Kawhi Leonard. You might say to yourself, why is he dribbling into 2 people like that? Where is he going? But he trusts his handle so much as Powell gets a stop on Brogdon. He trusts his handle so much, he just wants to draw 2 guys to the ball, and he makes the pass. Here's another jumper from Leonard, and it's right back now to a 12-point Toronto advantage. They took advantage of Giannis being out, and now Milwaukee in a bit of difficulty.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It seems like Norm Powell has been hitting every shot, but he's only 4 out of 10 actually in this game. 3 of 7 from downtown.
Question: since Ersan Ilyasova is so slow of foot, does Tony Snell deserve more of a chance from Budenholzer at this point? I'd consider it. I mean, he's so buried in the rotation, though. It's really hard to bring those guys from the doldrums out. And Ilyasova, it's not like he's been trashed this entire series.
Well, and they could just play Connaughton more too.
Oh yeah, Connaughton. That's a more cogent fix.
But yeah, I think it's difficult because when they haven't had Ilyasova or Lopez in there, probably really Lopez more than Ilyasova, other than in game 2. Toronto's really been getting really good looks. I think this game to me is very encouraging for the Raptors. This is the first real good offensive game they've had. I mean, Kawhi has been better in this quarter, but he's only got 13 points on 4 of 11. And he does, these bench guys from Toronto have been awesome. Powell and Ibaka are plus 18. Van Vliet is plus 14.
If AD is traded to New York or LA for a pick, does that have to wait 30 days? Is it binding or can a team renege? Well, as a technical matter, it isn't binding, and that's why trades aren't announced, but it is functionally so, because if a team broke off a deal for that kind of a reason, then it would just have all these massive ripple effects throughout the league. I mean, you wouldn't see, let's say in that case, you wouldn't see Clutch Sports clients probably sign with that team for a little while, all those sorts of things. And yeah, I wrote about this actually for The Athletic. Thankfully, for those of us who enjoy Summer League, I talked about this from the perspective of the possibility that Zion Williamson might not play in Summer League. Because if theoretically let's say the Knicks had gotten the number 1 pick and then traded it, but they needed the salary to count in an Anthony Davis trade, it could have theoretically happened that he would have still played, but from a risk standpoint, it probably wouldn't have. And the example there is that Andrew Wiggins only briefly played in Summer League as a member of the Cleveland Cavaliers before he was traded to Minnesota in what became the trade that involving him and Kevin Love. But yeah, so my expectation would be that those guys, if they have to use the salary to make the trade work, then they would wait, and those players probably would not play in Summer League.
I've always appreciated your diction. Thank you. I take great pride in that. That's my wife said that's the number one reason why she married me, which probably says more about the fact that I found the right wife than me. Let's see. Does Middleton need to get the ball in his hands more in general? Seems like he's a decent playmaker. He doesn't put any pressure on the rim, so it's hard for him to get that third defender over. A lot of his passes have been in scramble situations. Bud does not like to run a lot of pick and roll either. And the ISO game with him, Toronto is just too active and too long, I think, and they need him out on the floor to space the floor. Giannis is back. He's up front with Ilyasova, Bledsoe, Brogdon, and Middleton complete the quintet. Lowry pressuring on Middleton. Good double from Van Vliet. Underneath, Giannis. Oh, with the dunk. Maybe not a good double as Bledsoe, again, not spacing out, but he got to the dunker spot, forced a rotation, and Giannis was able to finish. Van Vliet directing Kawhi into the corner so they can run the ATO. Van Vliet screening for Kawhi. Kawhi going at Ilyasova. They really seem to like this matchup. Rescreen coming now as Brogdon got back into position. Kawhi pulling up with Brogdon on his back and drains it.
And that's a couple of jumpers from Kawhi when it hadn't really been going for him earlier in this game.
Middleton, Giannis down the lane. 3 Raptors are there to bother him. Now he goes to the hook over Lowry. Bledsoe knocks it out of bounds with the wild attempt at the offensive rebound. We're about to miss something. Yeah, I'm glad they went away from it. Powell, they're looking to get Kawhi in the post, and now they're going to get the offensive foul. I agree with this call. Kawhi was never set on that screen.
Yeah, and exactly the type of screen that they should call more often, because just force guys to be more on it.
Hey, you see Kawhi just step right in the middle.
Completely
clear
screen.
Foul.
Yeah.
Now Mirotic being guarded by Lowry, forced way out on the floor. They're trying to post up Giannis. Ibaka coming over. Ilyasova, not a threat underneath the basket. Van Vliet watching him. Now Bledsoe with the cut. Good pass from Giannis. And he beat Van Vliet but couldn't finish. Somehow gets the rebound and passes out to Ilyasova. Here's Brogdon with the floater, and they can't take advantage again. What a rebound that was from Bledsoe, but 0 points result. Now Kawhi starting to feel it. Back to goal against Brogdon. And they're going to get a defensive 3 seconds here on the Bucks. I think it was Mirotic or maybe Giannis who was just hanging out there all day. Neither. You could have got a 3 seconds on either of those guys. Yeah. Amazingly, it wasn't Ilyasova who got called for it.
Kawhi doesn't take as much time on free throws as Giannis does either.
Yeah, I think Karl Malone might be the only one who does. Critical last 134 now. Connaughton gets Ilyasova. Kawhi remaining in the game here. He has not gotten that rest that he got earlier. I think because he's hot, they're really liking it. Lopez is back as well. A better defensive group. This is the first time we've seen no Hill and no Bledsoe. So a much larger group now. Kawhi going at Giannis. Into the lane. Powell has to jack it. Hits the rim. It's on the ground. Lowry recovers.
And he got pushed.
Foul.
He got pushed by Lopez.
With the shove, apparently. This is why you get a shot up that hits the rim late. And
I didn't see
quite
much there.
the flop there from Kyle Lowry, but he's going to get free throws to push this to 15. Yeah, Lopez did have his arm in there, but Lowry accentuated the contact.
Yeah, I mean, that was more of a jump to try to clear space for the push than a foul. This series does have some pretty great foul reactors. Like, I mean, Marc Gasol is probably the best in the league now that Tim Duncan is retired. And, I mean, his brother Powell would be another addition to that in this series, but he's sadly unavailable.
Yeah, well, there's the reactions with draw fouls, and then there's the reactions to the fouls.
Right.
We've got both of those.
Yeah. And theoretically, either one of these teams going against the Warriors are maybe the most aggressive team. It's not as funny sometimes with them, but it's still entertaining.
15-point game, and Milwaukee has committed a couple of bad fouls in the bonus that would have been non-shooting otherwise. Ibaka and Gasol together, Leonard getting a rest. They switch Powell getting into that deep stance, drive by Brogdon into the lane. Nice finish over Van Vliet, who did not have the size to disrupt Brogdon. And Brogdon's so good at that immediate attack. That's something that Coach Bud has gotten him to do. Lowry, double high screen. He's got Gasol behind him up top. Gasol loads up. Not there. Ibaka among 3 Bucks, and they'll maintain possession. Serge Ibaka once again on the offensive glass. He got right behind Giannis that time, who was not physical enough with the box out.
Yeah, and it looked like that hit Mirotic on the way out, so I think that's a good call. I don't know if Connaughton got hit in the face. I couldn't see that clearly enough. Oh, yeah, he got hit with a forearm. Yep.
Powell running it down to try to get the 2-for-1. He's got the one-on-one. Mirotic just lets him shoot. What is he doing?
He just dribbled into that. Look at that shot by Norm Powell.
The guy hasn't missed a 3 all series. What are you doing? You got the Milwaukee Bucks help defense behind you. That was awful. Especially, he's going for the 2-for-1 right then. Here's the swing. They run the same play again. Ibaka looking to load to Giannis. 8 on the clock. Giannis's 3 goes down. Wow, that's the most contested one he's taken all series. That's a big shot, as Toronto had pushed it to 16. Now Powell again. He likes the matchup on Mirotic, and rightfully so after that last possession. Counting down to 5. Crossover. Breaks his ankles. His 3. Not there. Lowry rebounds, but it's just off. So a big 3 from Giannis, keeping Milwaukee in some kind of contact. Psychologically, I think there's a big difference between 13 and 16.
Yeah, I think so. But Toronto, after having a 10-point halftime lead, they actually extended that out to 13. It was a 29-26 third quarter. Leading scorer in the game is Chris Middleton, 23 on 8 of 10 from the field, 3 of 3 from the line, just brutally efficient. Giannis, 22, 8 of 16 from the field. And then Kyle Lowry, he had 10 points early, has 20 total, including 10 of 10 from the free throw line. Is Brook Lopez a problem for the Warriors if the Bucks can make the finals? Yeah, in certain matchups he is, but the Warriors don't drive for finishes at the basket as much. They do get opportunistic finishes there, to be sure. I mean, they can get things at the basket. And I think what could be interesting is just the way the Warriors approach him when the Bucks run offense could end up being problematic because he shoots. They've had trouble over the years with guys that shoot a couple of feet beyond the three-point line. Eric Gordon was one of the first practitioners of that and did a really good job. Ryan Anderson also gave the Warriors some problems. But what's a little bit different with Brook is who they use to defend him is going to be an interesting question. So I think he causes some problems, but then what Milwaukee does schematically, defensively, I think Lopez opens up some real problem areas for them. If I'm the Bucks GM, who do I re-sign? So, I mean, some of it is dependent. There are two big dependent variables that a GM does not control. One is the offers that the player has on the table. The second is what ownership is willing to pay. Taking those and just kind of going expected value on them, I think Brogdon's market is just going to be a little bit more tepid. I think they need to bring back Middleton. There isn't really a good way to replace him. I would bring back Lopez. The fortunate thing for Lopez is basically any contract they can sign him to because of the structure, with the mid-level exception. Basically any contract they can sign him to, I would be broadly okay with. And I think he's like 31 or 32. And Mirotic, he's the one where it's more dependent on what the market is. I like Mirotic more than the average NBA general manager, so I think that there's a distinct chance that I would want to bring him back if ownership were willing to pay the tax and pay that kind of tax. but he's probably the fringe element.
Yeah, and obviously it depends what the cost is as well.
Right.
I mean, I think also just to have a decent player on a large salary that you could make a trade with too.
Ballast.
It's could be useful. So check out the shot charts here. 12 of 20 at the rim for Toronto, 6 of 9 for mid-range, but they're not being forced into the same number of mid-rangers. The shot distribution is much better.
And how many floaters for them? Probably not many.
Yeah, only 4.
Wow. So I think that's important. That's Bucks more floaters than the Raptors in this game. Same number of shots at the rim.
Kawhi continuing to get a rest. Powell off the screen. Throws a looper back to Gasol, and Gasol is forced to throw it away. Oh, Van Vliet, what a play by him. Inside out dribble, freezes Hill, what a play.
Oh,
Fred Van Vliet. That was spectacular. Now Middleton picked up late by Van Vliet. They didn't know who they had initially. Giannis going at Gasol. Good help comes from Ibaka. Foul called. I think they're going to get Ibaka. Ibaka raises his hand, and that's probably better for Toronto. And I think, they might get Gasol on this one, coming down with the swipe.
Well, and Mirotic did something there that I really like, which is when a guy gets kind of stuck in what I call like a fling situation where you're just basically throwing the ball, instead of getting to a spot, run in front of another guy, because odds are that's where they're going to try to throw the ball, and Mirotic gets that steal, but then gets it stolen from him by Van Vliet. It's Giannis free throws, so we have enough time to eat a sandwich between them, which is always exciting.
Yeah. Talk about the shots for Milwaukee. 13 to 20 at the rim, so they're doing a little bit better there now. But it's really been the possession game that has hurt them the most. And Toronto, Milwaukee has scored pretty well in this game, frankly, but to give up 94 points through 3 quarters, 132 offensive rating for Toronto right now. Green being bothered by Connaughton. Van Vliet off the screen. Now they get the elbow. Gasol, he's going to have to go at Giannis. Fades away over him. Not even close. That's more like what I expected the first time he tried that move, and he made it. Giannis crossing up on Ibaka. Gets past him. They're going to call this on the floor. And Giannis starting to find some room now against these Toronto centers.
And that's the benefit for Milwaukee of going to the Giannis Mirotic combination countering the two bigs, is that Marc Gasol has to go outside, and they don't have another player to defend Giannis in these lineups.
Yeah, it's
there will be
well
seams.
Put. Ibaka trying to deny Giannis. Now they get it into Hill. Mirotic hands off Middleton. Good job by Powell getting through it. Good help comes from Gasol. Connaughton's cut is bottled up. Now Giannis almost traveled. He goes into Van Vliet. Mirotic will have to gun it late. Not there. Great defense once again by Toronto, who is just a wonderful defensive team. I mean, if you just look at as Van Vliet blows by, here's Powell into the lane, and then his pass to Ibaka went awry. I mean, the individual defensive talent on this Toronto team is
crazy.
Just fantastic.
And Van Vliet doesn't necessarily have the best physical tools, but he's strong and he works so hard.
Yeah, and a lot of intelligence as well. Giannis in the pick and roll with Middleton. They switch this. Now they want to get Giannis against Powell. Instead, Middleton attacking. Help comes from Green off the corner nicely. Middleton into the lane. Misses the layup. He felt Ibaka, but Giannis kept it alive, and it'll be Milwaukee ball. Kawhi is getting a good break here. And Giannis will go out of the game again at some point, but probably not for another 3 or 4 minutes if Bud sticks to his substitution patterns. Now Giannis double teamed. Hooks Gasol, no call. Now he gets into the lane. Passes out. Connaughton contested by Green. Ibaka rebounds. And Giannis tried to get the rebound, and he got a shoulder to the face for his trouble. Toronto looking a little slow here early on. Trying to post Gasol on Middleton. Middleton fronting him. Van Vliet drives the front. Middleton switches onto him expertly. Now they're late in the clock, but they miscommunicate. And Van Vliet off the glass and in. No, what are they going to call here?
I think they're going to call a foul on the rebound, but count the shot.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see much there. Just some hand fighting. Mirotic, I mean, this is a lucky shot, obviously, but Mirotic did leave him open by failing this late switch there. And yeah, I guess Ibaka was grabbing the arm of Giannis. No, they're going to get Giannis on this, so this is going to be an and one opportunity.
A potential 4-point trip.
Wow, and this could push it to 18, and they're doing it with Kawhi on the bench.
Yeah, right now, before this free throw, the Bucks are +4 in the non-Kawhi minutes in this game.
The Raptors are, you mean?
Yes. Thank you.
18-point game. Bucks better get to work on reducing this lead pretty quickly here. Connaughton off the screen. They try to get Middleton to the free throw line. They'll just switch that. Van Vliet gets into Middleton, pulls up from the foul line, and scores again. Man, Chris Middleton has been outstanding, but one long two at a time probably not going to get you back into this if you're Milwaukee. Even if it is Chris Middleton shooting. Van Vliet getting past Hill into the lane. Back out to Gasol. He's closed down by Lopez. Now Powell accelerating past Lopez. Ibaka, this is a great defensive possession by the Bucks. Now Van Vliet going past Connaughton and scores. Connaughton with too hard of a closeout, and Van Vliet burned him late in the clock. It's back to 18. Middleton shoves off on Green. Swing it to Giannis. Giannis just dropped it. Van Vliet saying, hey, give me the ball. Now Powell going at Connaughton. Easy reverse. 20-point game. Big trouble here for the Milwaukee Bucks. Timeout for Bud. Ilyasova is going to come back in, but it may be too late here with 8:35 remaining in the game. Just a wonderful offensive performance from Toronto. 133 offensive rating. And it hasn't been unsustainable three-point shooting. They're getting up a lot of threes. The foul line, they've been killing them there. The offensive boards.
They've been better in the restricted area overall.
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't stuck out in any one area, but that's what makes you think perhaps it's more sustainable.
Well, and what it hasn't stuck out in any one area, but remember how rough it was in every area before this. So being better in everything is huge. And that's now 25 assists on 34 made baskets. I think that's significant as well. And a high assist rate for the Bucks as well, 22 of 30. And as John Schumann pointed out, not only is Kawhi Leonard on the bench, Kyle Lowry and Pascal Siakam are on the bench too.
If the Raptors win this game, what percent would you give each team of winning the series? Probably about the same that I normally would with it tied 2-2 in favor of the home team, which is, I think it's in like the 75%, 80% range even for the home team in that situation. But I mean, Toronto has given themselves a chance. That game 3 was so massive for them, and it seems like now to have had one good game, and we're pretty much, in terms of the point differential of this series, going to be about even now.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys think the Warriors make a quick series against both these teams? No, absolutely not. I mean, these are, to me, the Raptors and Bucks are two of the 3 best teams in the league. They will be the best team the Warriors have faced overall in these playoffs, and remember, either one of these teams is going to have home court in the NBA Finals as well.
Yeah, I think that's going to be important. Who is the number 2 come from behind team right now after Golden State? I would actually say the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, especially because they have such a good defense, and defense
and transition too.
Defense is such an underrated part of like a really good comeback team.
Oh yeah.
They don't have the greatest free throw shooting, but they have a lot of the other elements.
Warriors going to 4-0 either of these teams? Absolutely not. No way. Especially, no, the Bucks are in particular, I think, are too good. I could see maybe them doing it to Toronto. Toronto.
Toronto's offense has been way better in this game, but it could have some problems against the Warriors.
Yeah.
Do you really think these teams are better than Houston? Yes, absolutely I do. They're really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, like the level of defense that the Warriors are going to be playing. I mean, if KD is back, I would probably pick the Warriors in that series. If KD is not back, if we knew for sure that KD wasn't going to play in the series, I would pick the Bucks with no hesitation, and maybe even pick Toronto. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to see how this series plays out going forward, but And, I could be wrong there. I could be underrating the Warriors. I've never picked against the Warriors in a series since this run started in 2015. So,
Well, technically you did once, but it was not for that reason. It was because you wanted to beat me in the betting. In the prediction contest in 2016 when you fucking got it right. But that was different.
Do Raptors have better personnel to guard the Warriors? That's a really interesting one, of whether they would be better than Milwaukee. I think they would be. But the length that both these teams have, I mean, Golden State's been able to walk to the rim in all 3 series they've played so far. That would not be the case against these teams. Middleton missing the 3. They ran a play for him to get a 3. I like the thought. Giannis on the bench here. And, I mean, once more, Giannis, as here's a 3 from Ibaka. That's in and out as well. Giannis just has not had the effect in these 2 Toronto games. Here's a stop by Green as Brogdon tried to quick drive him. And Green, again, one of the highest block rates for a guard in NBA history. You see why right there. Middleton posting up, quick double, fades away anyway and drains it. Man, Chris Middleton, just they have not had the answer for him, but it just, if they could actually defend in this game, it would really mean something. Van Vliet off 2 screens, goes at Lopez. They're just straight up switching this now. Flare screen for Powell, wide open. Ilyasova did not get out. Gasol trying to keep it alive, but Hill did well to tip it to Brogdon. Now Middleton attacking Ibaka right down for the layup. And we'll see now whether Nick Nurse decides to go back to Kawhi. Yeah, they're going to call timeout, and you would imagine we will see him. Maybe we'll see Siakam
Kawhi,
again.
Siakam, Lowry. I would expect to see that. And nobody in real foul difficulty here. Bunch of guys with 4, Brook, Ilyasova, Siakam, Danny Green. But I mean, that's not too big of a deal now with 7.5 minutes to go in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, good suggestion in the chat. If going with Giannis at center and Middleton at the 4.
Do they have enough wings?
Yeah, Brogdon, Hill, and Bledsoe. He was saying.
I mean, maybe you go with Connaughton.
Yeah, you could maybe do that too. But I think the idea being that we're just going to get awesome shooters out there. We're really going to push the pace.
Yeah, I think it's a solid David strategy for this kind of situation.
Favorite tee? I'm not that much of a tee guy, but I can't remember the name. It's a winter tee from this place called Song Tea in San Francisco. That's awesome. It's like Shaanxi Winter Blend, Winter Sprout, or something like that. It's awesome. And it's not that I've basically, I'm not really a tea connoisseur, so I've been refilling this same tea bag every single time just to get a little flavor. It's more I need like the hot water for my throat with how much we're talking. So maybe you should talk now.
I can talk now. Do you think the Warriors prefer the Raptors in the finals? I'm guessing that they do. I mean, they have a lot of respect for Kawhi though, for obvious reasons. But I think the Bucks are more challenging for them to defend, and then the Bucks' length has been the Bucks have I mean, one of the examples that comes up is that the Bucks broke the Warriors' 24-0 streak in the 16-17 season, but Milwaukee has played the Warriors well, even when they were poorly coached for about the last 5 years, and Toronto has too, but it's a little bit different. So I think the players and probably the coaches would rather play the Raptors than the Bucks, but these are 2 damn good teams. How about Giannis and Mirotic at the 5 and the 4? They've tried that, but I think the idea is that they're not doing. The problem is
they can't stop anybody.
Right? Yeah, I mean, because Mirotic doesn't bring the big man advantages because he's not a good help defender. He's not a good rim protector. So he's a wonderful shooter, but he's kind of like having another wing on the floor. And so the idea of playing him with Middleton as opposed to going to a smaller guy isn't as much, especially if one of the things that Milwaukee is looking for, the theory of the lineup that commenter had, is about having more ball handling on the floor, I think, as well. I think that makes them a little bit more viable,
attacking closeouts, just more speed defensively. I mean, I don't think it would work, but it's worth trying.
Good question from Brendan Riley. I would love to ask this of a team with Truth Serum, of the ideal number of days off between series for rest and not too much rust. My thought has always been 4 or 5. You're going to be rusty probably for the first quarter half, but then your guys are going to be totally rested. But it is a little bit context dependent because, like, for example, the Warriors situation where they get more than a week off, but they have a bunch of guys that are hurt. So you want more time in that circumstance because it gets them more time to recover.
Yeah, this is the Raptors bench montage they're showing here.
Yeah, the Bucks bench montage would be pretty short.
16-point game. Kawhi is back, as are Lowry and Siakam. Powell driving along the baseline, and his pass is deflected by Ilyasova.
So they didn't use this stat, but Toronto has had 3 different players come off the bench. All 3 of them have more points than Milwaukee's bench combined.
Yeah, and some ugly plus minuses. Hill -16, Connaughton -17. They get it into Kawhi. He's got space here to go at Brogdon. Advantage matchup. Gets his shoulder in. Good help comes from Ilyasova late in the clock. Swing it to Lowry. His deep 3 is good. And that will probably do it here. 19-point game. Kyle Lowry has been fantastic. He got the shooting started early. He had those, I think, 10 of their first 12 points. Remember, the Bucks were up very early on. Ilyasova trying to post Lowry. They'll deal with this, and Ilyasova does score, but they just don't want to give up threes at this point. Gasol pick and roll with Lowry. Lowry going at Lopez into the lane, and what are they going to get? I think a foul on Lopez before the charge from Ilyasova. You know what my offense would be on occasion if I were Toronto is just whoever is being guarded or whoever has the ball up top, just drive right at Ersan Ilyasova and then just throw it to whoever he's guarding in the corner for a 3. Powell, screen from Gasol. They switch it. Gasol trying to post up. Gasol telling Siakam to cut. Ugly possession. Powell's going to just have to create something. Pulls up Bledsoe with nice help coming over and a missed shot from Powell, although he still almost made that ridiculous floater. Middleton going at Powell, draws the foul, and he'll go to the line.
Yeah, and so that only took 6 seconds off the shot clock. He's going to get 2 free throws. It's exactly how you need to get back into this game.
Yeah, in Toronto, they've been kind of, as Giannis is going to come back in here, they've been kind of dribbling the air out of the ball every possession. I think maybe they're going into stall mode a little bit too early here. They got to keep scoring. Middleton, man, missing the free throw.
So that's now, the Bucks are, I think, 14 of 22 on free throws in this game.
Yeah.
8 misses compared to 3 for the Raptors, and the Raptors have had more attempts.
Yeah, and Giannis, a better game statistically, 23 points, 8 of 16, but so much of that has just been off of scramble situations. He has not really succeeded in creating any kind of offense in the half court, particularly when matched up with Kawhi, and particularly when, as they're starting to press here a little bit, and particularly when Toronto has actually gotten their defense set, and because Milwaukee can't get a stop, their transition game has been ineffective. Good pressure. They get it back to Leonard now. Pick and roll. Going to go one-on-one against Giannis. This is not really an advantage matchup. Gets him in the air. Not really. Here's Powell. He's going to have to throw it up again. Norm Powell has been tasked with some difficult flaming bags late. Middleton spinning on Powell. Baseline. Out to Giannis. Doesn't want the 3. Going into Lowry. Euro step. Scores. And Toronto's got to get better offensively here. This has been awful lately.
Yeah, I mean, they've had these 22 seconds to nothing possessions, and that's, running the time off the clock is good, but you need to get decent shots at least some of the time.
Yeah, we've got a 14-point lead. Siakam back to goal into Gasol. He floats it up and scores, and now 16-point game with 5 minutes left. I mean, Milwaukee had to pitch a perfect game, basically. We've got about maybe 11 possessions left in this one. A high hook from Middleton as, again, Middleton just attacking early and drawing fouls after like 5 seconds into the shot clock.
This is something I'll probably bring up when we talk about this game for Dunked On. Milwaukee, significantly less effective in the half court than Toronto, but in a really important part, their half court frequency, the margin there is much closer. So Milwaukee's still running more than the Raptors, but not that much more to make it a big difference. And so that means that if Milwaukee's in the half court and they're not doing well in the half court, then it's harder for them to have reliable offense. And Toronto's been great. I mean, Toronto's half court offensive rating is 112.
They've got Kawhi at the 4 now. Here's Bledsoe on the drive, shut down by Van Vliet. Ilyasova just lost it. Kawhi under control as the Bucks are doing a great job getting back again. He wants to go at Giannis once more. High screen roll. They go after Ilyasova instead. An easier mark for Leonard. He backs out on the floor. Ilyasova with a bad reach. Leonard setting up Gasol. Now it's Powell in the corner. His three-pointer is off. Wide open look, though. It all started with Ilyasova switching onto Kawhi. Here's Brogdon's pull-up three. Oh, Powell with a nice rebound. Ahead to Lowry. Lowry with the fake pass. Now he wants to go at Ersan. Right past him on the baseline. Kick out. Kawhi's three goes down, and we can turn this off.
Thank you, everybody. Patreon.com/Duncan LaRue. We'll be back for Game 5. You want to do Game 5?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be massive.
Huge game.
That's going to be... and I'm glad that this series is... We're going to have a Game 6 as well, so I'm sure we'll do Game 6 also. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that this is becoming a real series, because I believed in this Toronto team. I was beating myself up for it after the first two games, and I still think Milwaukee's a substantial favorite in the series. This is a wonderful defense.
For more than signs of life for the Raptors. I think have an idea of how they could win this series.
All right, thanks, guys. We will talk to y'all in 2 days' time.